Well, hello. No messing tonight. I'm here and I mean business. I've got a full panel. We've got plenty to talk about. No waffle, I don't think, tonight, and not a moment to waste. By the way, my dad who took me to Lonley to 1983, good old Doctor Who fan himself, a fan of Jodie Whittaker, actually, our dad, who always defended that era. My dad texted me tonight because he watched it after me, and he said, well, Bren, eventually watched it. Well, that's time I won't get back. Has not improved. In fact, I lost interest after 10 minutes. That's my dad, who always defended Doctor Who, has been a Doctor Who fan longer than me, and took me to Lonleat in 83. And then he continued. It was at least the old one we could have had a laugh at the sets moving while we watched it from behind the sofa. But these have nothing to hold your attention or to be able to remember parts of it. Bring back the Daleks. So, my dad's had the first kind of say there. That's where he stands. I know tempers are high. I know frustration is high. And I know within that, there are people like Over the Overseer, welcome to you, who actually in many parts enjoyed it. So I really do want us to be that good channel that actually can embrace that. I think that's only fair because I really want to know why people did like it. And anyway, I've got my panel. I'm bringing them on now. There's no waffle about it. I just think, wow. We had Jodie, the Regeneration game, Shooty touching grass. He was the future once, you know. And a plot so porous and so many leaks confirmed it would make Thames water look watertight and dry as a bone. Here we go. Let's get Divining Dragon from Dallas on. Hiya.
Howdy, howdy. Good to be here.
I
I
mean,
need to vent.
well, yes, and I'm gonna have you venting in a minute. Don't worry. I'm gonna get Brian on from Canada. Hiya, Brian.
Thanks, Brendan. Hi, how you doing?
You're going to get your moment in a minute. I'll have mine, don't worry. And to complete the quartet tonight, it's Sunny.
Captain Sunny Waffles. I am not good. I'm not.
Right. Okay, then. Before I do what the F, before I do anything, let's give everybody a chance. So this is a first pop. Christian, this is your first chance as a Doctor Who fan to say what you want to say without me directing you or structuring it. Over to you.
Okay, I'll just start with the plot holes. No resolution for the irrational, emotional, sadistic behavior of the Doctor previously. No explanation for the appearance of Susan. No explanation for the appearance of Rogue. No explanation for how Bi-Generation started. No clear explanation over what the genetic disaster was back home that left the Time Lord sterile. No explanation for how many of these do I have to go through? It's like he deliberately went down the road and instead of paving it, he started to carve out holes for people to try and navigate around while maintaining the integrity of the story. Let's say that I was just a tad less than impressed.
Yeah. Okay, and that's just him being moderate at the beginning. Fergal, good to see you, and it's great to see new people subscribing as well. We will be fair and reasonable tonight, and we'll go over things and. And anyway, let's have a look. So thank you for that. Very generous. I will only generally be here for it if Billy is the Doctor for a full series or 3, not 3 specials like David Tennant. You can imagine on what the F we're going to start with Billie Piper. So just you wait for a moment. But thank you very much for that. And over to you, Brian. Your first chance to just get it off your chest. You may be amazed by it. You may be whatever. Over to you.
Oh man, I just can't be as articulate as Christian there. I was let down, so let down, unbelievably let down. Everybody was saying, well, the payoff better be big. The payoff better be big. I'm sure we're going to go into it later, but pulling a Jurassic Park guy sitting on the toilet and getting eaten, I think you get the analogy there. That got me to no end. The fact that our beloved enemy Omega was once again big alien resurrection like monster that was defeated. within minutes. And this was all done in the first half. The second half was all soap opera garbage. And then RTD playing that same trick that he did, pulling at our heartstrings, saying, oh, come on, we're going to bring back the classics. And instead of David Tennant, now we got somebody else. I was like, I'm not falling for this again. Goodbye. I'm done. That's it.
Okay.
That's
So-
how I feel. Game
Right. Well,
over.
just as I come, I mean, we will discuss all these items, but I wanted to give the lads all a chance to get off what they wanted to say on their chest. Side quest nerd, watched with my daughter. Should be a good experience, shouldn't it? It was like watching a comedy. It was so bad. That's what you say. Michael Herbert, best part was seeing Jodie again. That's your say. Pikehead, I'm so bloody angry. We will get into all these things. I mean, they're just a few, and please keep them coming. And remember, I will say it once more before Sonny comes in, and then I give my first take, and then we hit the what the F's. We are that channel where we do like to hear different opinions. So if people do like what they saw tonight, will you please tell us why? And I'd have you on, and I'd have you on tomorrow, and all the rest of it. So please do, because it is interesting, because I'm fascinated by it. Sonny, your first chance to tell us what you thought of tonight.
Okay, so I'm kind of middling on it because I liked it more than I should have. I liked the beginning parts, kind of like the classic Who tropes where they just threw the story away and all that stuff. That was good, I thought. But like everything, like the little stuff in it, like him getting back in the dress for no reason, the sonic screwdriver battle that just made no sense at all. That just wasn't what was happening in that scene, right? But like that was kind of the theme of this special, retcon, right? He just retconned everything, right? So it didn't make any sense. No, that's what I don't like. I don't like any of that stuff. No, sorry. I like watching the spectacle, like the kind of like regular Doctor Who-y stuff that was happening. I was like, all of that's kind of fine. Like even Omega to me was okay because do you really want an active character Omega? No, because we had the Rani. We need to get rid of all of that stuff, right? We need to hurry up and just get rid of all of it. But the God complex stuff is where it was just out of control. The message of the episode was the Doctor, if you like the show, the Doctor is your God. This is what he does, and you have to like it. He can do whatever he wants, but nobody else can. He can affect the universe, but nobody else can, right? And I was like, all of that stuff is just so whack, and it's wrong, and that's not who the Doctor was or is anyway. Like, it's just so wrong. So I'm like, what are we watching? It just makes no sense. The plot is just dissolved and disgusting.
So I was impersonating. I think I was doing a reconstruction of the faceless ones then.
Yeah.
Anyway, before I move on, because I'm trying to stay moderate here at the moment, but it won't last. Gerard Williams. Yeah. Thank you, Gerard Williams. Introducing Billie Piper, not as the Doctor. That's your opinion, and thank you for being generous. You're very kind people. Randy Howell. Lazy stunt casting. A desperate move to line up a new streaming partner. Billy may only do a few specials. I don't know if you're saying that with your fingers crossed or whether you are hoping. It is Wish World after all. Thank you. You're very generous people, but I think I will now match that up with I am going to kill tonight. I am absolutely furious. I've talked to the press tonight and I am really angry. I really cannot believe that was allowed to get passed as an event, as an actual television program, as a plot. Where was Doctor Who? We had a regeneration, but he hadn't been the Doctor, and then we had it to somebody else who used to be the companion. There is so much going on. Why bother bringing Omega back? There were special effects, lads. I feel so sorry for them. There's so much to go on about. I am going to save the rest. There's a lot. I have been on fire tonight. And I tell you what, I am not RTD leaving the stage for you to continue this. I will hang around and I will point out every issue. So that's me being kind, but we're going to get moving on. So the first... I tell you what, I'd have been a more scary Omega. Honestly, Omega, he just eats the Rani and then kind of creeps back into his hole. It's like,
Yeah.
That was his whole
doing-
point. That's the only reason he was in the story.
Anyway, here we go. We've had 10 minutes of venting. That's your therapy, lads. Now we go into the plot. Now we go into the detail. And now the thread are going to see some bloody entertainment. Yeah, you may not have seen it tonight. So anyway, what the F, here we go.
A tear? Sarah Jane?
Is this death? It's the end, but the moment has been prepared for.
What have I just seen? I don't believe it. I cannot believe my eyes.
I think it might be the most apt one we've ever had. You see all these beautiful old doctors and everything. Fergal, €2. Thank you very much. You all have been very kind tonight. We have been working hard and it's so appreciated at this key moment. Right, okay, what the F? No messing, no messing. Look, the thumbnail before the show tonight looked nothing compared to what it is now because it shows you how much it's changed. So, what the F? We are starting with Jodie Whittaker, Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor, and introducing Billie Piper. You know that the internet is now on fire. The fandom is on fire. Some are thinking this is the most amazing moment. Some are not. I'm in the camp to say, and I said it tonight when I was talking to the press, and I said, I am sorry, but the trick of bringing Billie Piper back, it may be a trick, a stunt cast to actually just keep people talking about Doctor Who while it maybe goes into a hiatus for a couple of years. That is a possibility. Because I just want to say one thing, lads. Can you see what it says here? Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor, Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, and introducing Billie Piper. Now, grammatically, I'm thinking, I don't know. But this is how they normally did it. And introducing David Tennant as Doctor Who, and introducing Matt Smith as the Doctor, and introducing Peter Capaldi as the Doctor, and introducing Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. But tonight, it just said, and introducing Billie Piper. So are we spotting something subtle and different? I haven't seen any press say an interview with her. I've seen the press say she's the new Doctor, but I suppose seeing those credits and seeing what you saw, you'd expect that. Are we seeing a trick here, lads? What do you reckon, Christian?
This feels like a trick to me in this context. Billie Piper is already well established as a companion. When Capaldi came in with a face that he recognized from a previous adventure, he had the reason for it. There was a lesson that he was trying to internalize, and it manifested when he became that character. But for the Doctor to come back as a companion that ostensibly he'd been romantically invested in, that's something entirely different. Now, remember, if they don't have a chance to bring this back in 18 months, let's say it waits 5 years, let's say it waits 10 years, can Billie Piper wait around that long? If she was willing to do it in her 60s, are they going to de-age her or age her up? Or is this just an opportunity to keep people talking to try and link with another studio? See, we've got the most popular companion ever in the show coming back as the Doctor. Please give us some money and keep the show going. Everyone will love her. Or it could just be a play whereby the Doctor ends up going through several metamorphic phases at the very start of a new episode starting the next season, and then settles after 5 or 6 shifts into the new formal face. So this just becomes one in a string. There's so many things they could do with it, but my intuition tells me that whatever they're planning on doing, it's not going to work. It's not going to sell.
Brian, here we go. This is what you saw. You saw what I showed you with all the credits when they introduced the Doctors, and they've done it differently for Billie. Now, is that a trick? I have to say that shot when she appeared, I thought, oh my God, it's the Joker. I thought I was looking at the Joker from Batman.
Only Katie Manning does it better.
Yeah. So Brian, do you think she is now the Doctor, or do you think they're doing something like When it was 1989, you saw Ace and the Doctor walk off together, and that's our last shot. So in this time, RTD's thought, oh, do you know, you can see a new possible Doctor, and then bye-bye.
Yeah, well, RTD was fully aware that the axe could fall. Like, I mean, he knew that Disney was out. They weren't letting it out officially, but he knew Disney's gone. So yes, it could be just a little bit of a trick, something to hook us on and keep us talking about it for the next year or two while the war between the land and the sea airs. And then if it comes back, Billy will be back as the Doctor or just as a gimmick, like they did with David Tennant. You know, they had him on for a couple episodes and then he was gone. Who knows? All I know is that I'm sick and tired of Russell pulling this kind of stuff. And I'm not falling for it. I'm done. I don't know what else to say, Brendan.
Well, that's all right. The New Who, I think New Who is dead. And unfortunately, anybody linked with New Who is not going to save it. And Billie Piper, brilliant, played a brilliant role in the successful formula of the early years of New Who. But just like David Tennant, I really don't think anybody linked with New Who needs to be our future. I also think if it was stunt casting and is for a series of specials, unfortunately, as I've said, we can't have Doctor number 16, 17, 18 so quickly. It diminishes the product. Now, I've just got a few super chats to say thank you. Sean, who will be on Tuesday night, Children of Time. This episode was what you'd get if I if I wrote The Stolen Earth from memory after a concussion. Absolutely awful rubbish. I've had enough of this show. And he watched it just to come on my show, and I appreciate that. Fergal is being very generous tonight, and I thank you. If they aren't going to do anything with Billie Piper, why bother to have her as the Doctor? If she's not, I feel so bad for her. Is it a favour for a favour? I mean, I'm dare say they're going to use her in some way. It's just... unless she's hanging around. I mean, Ncuti didn't hang around. I mean, we really do now need a Doctor like Tom Baker style to hang around, because this show needs help. Farsight, again, generous lad, thank you. If she really is the Doctor, the show is a laughing stock. My issue is nothing against Billie Piper, nothing against this person at all. I was dubious about her in the Day of the Doctor. I wasn't quite sure what we were getting there. I think it is, just like with David Tennant, it's the law of diminishing returns. And it's not dramatically sexy. She was great. Leave her alone as Rose. That's gone. If he thinks it's going to keep us all talking, yes, the internet will be on fire tonight. But it's on fire with an awful lot of fury as well. So I'm not quite sure if this is going to land or be exactly what he wants it to be, if he's actually got any master plan. And remember, this was leaked. Another leak that was out there. We didn't get the Daleks, but we certainly got Billie Piper. I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted. The moment I saw all this tosh with it, and we'll talk about the regeneration in a minute. Cybermat Strikes, hiya. And again, very generous. Thank you very much. Don't ruin the moment, Brendan and panel. I always wanted a skanky cougar Doctor. RTD has finally made my dreams come true. Slap a Doctor. Well, we've just had a diva Doctor. It is a problem. As Megan says here, and Megan, you're so right. My dad will just watch Doctor Who normally. The problem is the general audience has been left with a ridiculous parody ending. They were turning off to begin with. This just makes the show look like it's become even more a silly send-up. And Megan, we're only talking about the beginning. We're just talking about this bit of what the F. When we get to the plot, when we get to the hocus pocus about the Rani, there is... the amount of MacGuffins and stuff appearing. I mean, there's so much to talk about. And Anita, of course, Anita had to come back. I could have clawed. If we didn't have an expensive telly, I'd have smashed the thing to pieces. Never mind Ncuti doing it. I was livid, absolutely livid. I thought, what a heap of crap this is. So, Colin, the beep mentioned the boss. The boss was mentioned again in tonight's episode. We haven't met the boss. Yeah. Do you care? Bring it on. The boss will be some Widow Chwanky, RuPaul. I don't know. It could be anybody. Madonna. So, Sonny, what do you reckon to Billie Piper's back as the Doctor? Maybe.
It's 100% like, you think classic Who's safe? Nobody's safe. We're gonna keep pulling at the past to try to make you care for it. It's a gimmick. That being said, I believe in the master plan, and I believe it's gonna be bad. They're doing the Peter Capaldi. They have an idea, and there's gonna be a payoff. I don't think it's gonna be as good as Capaldi's was, but Belinda and the Doctor, they were romantic. That was the point of this episode, and I didn't believe it until this episode because of that handkerchief scene where they're just passing it back and forth. They were filming it like that was the most romantic thing you could do between a man and a woman. They weren't even touching each other, but like apparently that proved they're in love. But like, that's what Poppy represented for the Doctor. Like, he made a baby. He wanted a family, but he didn't want that family. That's why he made a man for that baby in the new universe, where I think this all takes place, where Billy's the Doctor in a new universe. So there's an idea here, and there's a payoff. There's a plan. It's not going to be good. I don't think people are going to like it.
No, I don't think they do. Fergal, you are a sterling, generous person. When I saw the ad for the spin-off, I couldn't care less. I know there's even more. I mean, the female Sea Devil. The spin-off could easily be better than Doctor Who, which is not a good position. I'm just saying, if that was the issue, that's a disaster. Because the main show is just, it's hemorrhaging interest. It's really bad. Sean, the Secret Diver Time Lord on the way. I know, I've got that impression, Sean, that we're going to get some kind of dodgy, kind of, BBC Three spin-off where basically the Doctor and Belinda learn how to change nappies and how to wallpaper the TARDIS. And, they do a DIY series, interior design, Time Masters. It's like, what the hell?
That's where it was leading, and they immediately axed it, right? It was like, that's dumb. Why would we want that?
Yeah. Over the Overseer says, you've never seen me this angry. I was actually saying today that when I started this channel, the Sense Sphere, we were all open to saying that RTD coming back to save the show is like a lifeboat for the series. But the longer I thought about what's happened in the last two seasons, he wasn't the lifeboat. He was actually going towards the Titanic wreck, and he was actually chucking water at it. He was chucking ice at it. The other thing is, when he does go to a shipwreck that was Doctor Who after Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker, it seems to me, instead of aiming to save most of those people on the Titanic, and there's a protocol, women and children first, and there's a protocol for how you look after Doctor Who. He broke that protocol and thought, no, I'm going to go for all those people at the bottom of the ship, and all the rest of you can stuff it and clear off and die and go and touch grass. And he screwed up the whole idea of saving the show. That's the situation I feel as though we're in. Jack Dexter, again, I will say thank you. My Who Pets will come on and say thank you in a minute. This regeneration stunt didn't work with Tennant, agreed, because of the writing, and won't work with Piper. The BBC have learnt nothing. RTD should be fired. Well, the rumour was he was fired, and look what's happened. The BBC have either relented, can't find anybody else, so have said, or have said, let's do this Billie Piper stunt to keep the interest in the programme high while we sort this out. Sure. It could be a few different ways. What do you reckon, Christian?
It could be a number of avenues as they try to buy time and excite interest for another partner. Right now, I don't believe Disney's going to come back. But a lot of movie studios are in desperate straits financially and will only want to invest in something that's a sure thing. The BBC itself doesn't have pockets that are particularly deep. So where can they go? What can they do in order to excite interest? And this strikes me as one of those, as Sonny was saying, gimmick casting efforts in order to make that a reality. It's one more rationalization. And again, the irony is, at the same time they open up this this doorway, they still haven't resolved the bi-generated Tenant Doctor and his TARDIS that still exists. So the plot holes that are left behind are immeasurable, unless the idea is, oh, they've somehow recruited a version of the Doctor that's Billie Piper, and she's going to be introduced to the Tenant version, and something's going to happen. I don't know. That sounds kind of perverse to me.
Yeah. And just as you mentioned various things there, I mean, and people have mentioned whether my blood pressure will be lower for the rating show. Our rating show will be at 1 p.m. tomorrow with Christian. John's unavailable just for tomorrow. So basically it'll be me and Christian doing a rating show, then 5:45 with a full panel. I've already seen the scores. I'm saying nothing. I'm saying nothing. It will be a tasty show. That's all I will say. And if you like us having an argument, I think there'll be an argument. Randy Howell, listen to Cybermat Strikes. At this point, we may as well have Billie Piper, Ruby Sunday, and Belinda parade around in bikinis. It's the future. It's for the lads. It's for the lasses. I mean, God, we had everything going tonight. We had lesbian chic and everything. Dead man, thank you very much. I have no joke, but I just got my OAP for the month, so here's a small tip. You are very kind. Thank you very much. I'll take that as a lovely little kind of thing for the effort we're putting in just to entertain people. Thank you very much, Dead man. And we will aim to entertain, because I'm sure we'll mention Billie Piper again tonight, but this wasn't the main event. The main event was what happened before then. And so our What the F has got a lot of stuff. Boffin, good to see you. Please subscribe. The show is getting closer and closer to how it was when it died in the late 80s. It's disappearing further and further up its own backside. It was horrible then, and it's horrible now. I tell you what, it's horrible to kind of witness it, isn't it? But all those people who've been generous so far, thank you very much. The Hoopettes really appreciate it. And as somebody said, we might need a Hoopette now that looks like Billie Piper. God help us. She'll have to have a really big mouth. So thank you, everybody. And the next What the F item is the Regeneration. Now, I did cheer. There's a relief, and it's awful. There was a relief when I thought, oh no, he is leaving. Oh, thank God for that. And then, of course, I shouldn't have cheered, because then I realized, oh, they're going to fade to nothing. And then there was that moment, and I thought, oh yes, he's going to blow up the TARDIS again. God, he's going to blow up the TARDIS again, and then fade to black. And then, oh, he's going to see Joy to the World. And I thought, oh, you're not going to become a star. Oh, and then there was a moment, lads, when I thought he was about to jump out of the TARDIS, and it was going to be the end of Doctor Who forever. And it was going to be an absolute, I've had enough of this type thing. I thought, whoa. And I was really not wanting him to get off that platform, because if he bloody... So I was like, holding back. Hold on to that TARDIS, you swine. And then he does all that pathetic kind of, I am Joy, I am Astrid, I am a star, and all this crap. And then, of course, the back of his head, not the best thing to do. And then all of a sudden, it was the Joker. What the hell?
Brendan's mind exploded.
It was. Well, Sonny, while I'm getting myself together, do you want to tell us what was going through your head when you saw all this?
So the God complex thing came into my mind, because I'm like, oh, he was like, I'm the last of the Time Lords, and because he has a TARDIS, he can change reality and have no consequences, unlike Conrad, unlike the Rani, right? But then when he started talking about Joy to the World, I thought he was going to transform into Rose Noble, and I was like, no, if he does that, I can't watch the show. But then he became the other Rose, and I was like, I might have to keep watching. I
mean, they've made the Tinkerbell fairy dust a little bit better. I hated that effect, I don't know why, but Jodie's a regeneration was a little bit, it's like, oh, I'll fire my, I don't know. There was something about, daft
Yeah.
serious. I don't know. It was really weird.
What
Christian.
struck me, Brendan, is that when she regenerated, guess what? She kept Ncuti's dress. But when Tennant regenerated, he generated into an entirely different outfit. So again, within their own universe, they are not maintaining consistency of canon.
Well, of course, we had the rumor, which didn't play out, that we were going to go back to the Jodie regeneration and all this had been hocus pocus. And then then it would make sense. But that leak did not turn out to be true. I mean, Brian, when you saw this regeneration, what was going through your mind?
The first thing actually was, like you had said, I thought they were going to do a fade to black. But when he cried out joy to the world or whatever, I had just a moment of panic where we're going to get a dairy girl in the TARDIS. Just for a couple of seconds, I was like, they wouldn't dare. And it was almost as if they had kept that regeneration sequence going for as long as they could before, like you said, that Joker smile finally appeared. And she broke the fourth wall to us again.
Yes.
And I, like I said to you earlier, I've just been saying I can't believe they did it ever since. It's and like he had said, as far as changing costumes goes, they've actually reverted back to what it should be. So something tells me, at least for now, she is the Doctor.
Yeah. I mean, go on, Sonny, go on.
She might be Doctor number 1 in another universe. I think when he blew up the TARDIS, they did something. That's why the credits thing. That's a clue. I 100% believe that. So she can be a Doctor number 1 in a different timeline or a universe type of thing.
Do you think we can do this anymore? You see, all I saw tonight was a showrunner who thought he was a clever ass and just thought, do you know what? I'm going to do this because I can. Do you know what? There's a hole in the wall there. Do you know what? This mouse suddenly can do, it can do a magic trick. Do you know the sky can turn purple? Do you know what? The carpet's grass. It was a lot of tosh, absolute tosh. And I am fascinated by any Doctor Who fan. And please, I'm passionate, but I will listen. But please, will the people in the threads who love this, please explain to me in a couple of sentences how it made any sense, how it was acceptable as a storyline rather than, oh, do you know what? By the way, I counted. It took us about 22 minutes to get going. We were sat talking, going, shoo, and this'll do. And oh, behind me, oh, hey. Oh, I tell you what, and the other little blooming thing I want to say, because when the Doctor regenerates, they always have a nice little speech saying how bloody good they were. No, you weren't, Ncuti. You were a Doctor because you didn't save anybody. He's going around tonight saying, I saved people, and I need to regenerate to save people. No, hold on a minute. Anita opened a bloody door. That's how you were dying. You were crap. You were falling. Mavity, no Mavity, you were dying, mate. And suddenly Anita opened a door on a falling balcony. Please explain. And we will get to that. So all this nonsense about, I saved the world. Actually, without Anita, we were stuffed. Without Ruby, we were stuffed last week. And I will continue with saying where we would have been stuffed. Jeff, I'm better fit you in now, otherwise I'll have forgotten one. Thank you, Jeff. Russell's paving the way for an episode with 3 Billie Pipers and 3 David Tennants at this rate. And do you know what? We can have 20 David Tennants and 20 Billie Pipers. Can we have one script with one story, please? Honestly, that's the thing I'm missing is story. Has anyone ever heard of that? What that is? Story, plot. Something that makes sense.
He added it all in the end.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm blessed. Over the Overseer is sticking with us because honestly, Over the Overseer, I need to see. Brendan, has the finale ruined series 2 for you? Yes. Because I was waiting for a payoff over. Some of these stories individually, like The Well, etc., fine. Overall. But I'm sorry, it's only an 8-part series. It's only got 8 shows. And this is if you think the finale is 25% of the season, a quarter of the season is the finale, which sounds stupid, really. So the finale better be bloody good, and it better land it. Did it land the Mrs. Flood stuff that we'll talk about later? Well, did it land the Rani stuff, the Omega stuff? Did it land? No, it didn't. No, it didn't. It talked at me very fast, which is very classic David Tennant RTD style. And I've got some of the exposition a bit later if you really are interested. But the Regeneration, anything else you want to say, Christian, about the Regeneration? Because I they need to change it. And if I was going to ask you, Christian, what was your favorite, most meaningful Regeneration you ever saw? Because if we're going to criticize one, we need to compare it with why another one works really well. You know, I've mentioned the Planet of the Spiders one, where basically the third Doctor atoned, and it was a quiet thing. It's an individual thing. He'd done wrong, and he had to atone for himself. And it was almost like a quiet death, and it needed a little poke from Shoji, and it was done in a very undramatic way, really. However, we now get the sky, Luke Skywalker die, lightning everywhere. And I start to think, RTD, the louder you go with special effects, the more I don't give a crap. Christian?
No, you hit the one that I was going to suggest. There were three, I guess, that stand out in my mind. The way they handled the transition from Troughton to Pertwee, which was distinct from all the others. We don't see a face change of some kind, but they worked within the constraints of the era, and they made it work well. No fairy dust for that. It functioned. The quiet transition, the atonement with Pertwee's departure and Baker's approach worked. And the departure of Baker also stood out. The sacrifice to save one person on the part of Davison worked. It's like, oh my God, in the classic era, they seem to have a handle on how to make each regeneration distinct in a specific way. I'm not seeing that anymore. It's all special effects today.
Yeah. Now, Over the Overseer, who I'm using as my kind of counterpoint tonight, and I appreciate that as I come to Brian. But Brendan, I enjoyed it, but I don't claim it all made sense. Look, Doctor Who overall did make sense. It stretched it a little bit here and there. And we're being fair, you watch the Horns of Nimon all the way through. There's a little few bits where you go, ooh, that's a little bit of a stretch, but I'm going with it because there's an overall consistency. And actually, by being a bit slower and allowing it, sowing the seeds a bit better, and then actually explaining them within dialogue, not shouts and monologue, it kind of sells it. But remember, the episode was over by about 34 minutes. But the episode hadn't started by 22 minutes. We had 12 minutes of bam, 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 bang. And then it was kind of soapy time. But Over the Overseer, I'm not knocking the plot holes in one respect, because Doctor Who has always had plot holes. But what did you enjoy over? What did you enjoy about that? Like I said, my dad's really fair, but he thought it was boring. And by 10 minutes, he wanted to switch off. I mean, what the heck? John Yulden, and I'll then come to you, Brian, don't worry. Thank you, John. But did the giant bollock with a face turn up? I need to know. No, that version of Omega was a bad leak. No, he wasn't a giant bollock. No, he in fact, he was a bony. Go on, Brian, over to you on the Regeneration.
On the Regeneration? Oh, you mean which I believe we were talking about past generations versus current. My favorite, or the one that got me, was actually was yours 100% when Pertwee turned to Baker. The having to admit that he had made a mistake, and he had to give up his life to make up for it. And that very nice little scene of him dying on the floor, changing into Baker, crossfade, and here we go again. Beautifully done. And for the most part throughout this classic series, again, it was with when Davison gave his life to save Perry. That was great too. I wasn't a fan. I don't think anybody was a fan of when Colin Baker turned into McCoy, but that was not his fault. Yeah. But yeah, in the later series, I think my favorite was when Smith change to Capaldi
Yeah.
in the,
That was
you know, just like that. It was a nice little mix 'em up for a change.
Beautiful speech of Matt Smith. The thing
Yes.
I didn't like him being old and then getting all this regeneration energy from, you know, the space time lords. So
Yeah.
it wasn't a complete perfect regeneration. Now, Sonny, before I come to you, Sonny, if we're talking about the regeneration, it was Jamie who shouted it to me. Shooty touch grass.
Dude, this regeneration is just as good as Davidson's regeneration. And I never seen Davidson regeneration, but based off of what y'all said, Gatwa sacrificed himself to save one person, Poppy, and it worked. So this regeneration had emotional weight. He touched grass. It's as good as Davidson. My favorite though is still Capaldi's. Every time I watch it, he really didn't want to die. There's so much emotional weight in there, and like he talks it through. Capaldi's is just every time I watch it, it's just I find something else that I enjoy about it.
So there you go. I mean, you know I could have gone at 8 o'clock live. Of course, I could have, like half the world. But I like to reward our audience with we've thought about this, and I've got things together. And yes, look, he's touching grass, which this must be a meta joke. Is there a joke going on here? Because I mean, as he regenerates. Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I would not be surprised. RTD has been very cognizant of what the audience has been saying and the blowback last year. And remember, this is the last episode to be constructed. I would not be surprised if he decided to plug this in just to nettle the fans about touching grass.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't put it past him.
Now, Brendan, if the show returns as it stands, will you continue to watch and review it? By God, I will. RTD's not getting an easy wicket. RTD can provoke, poke, trigger, antagonize, be a pain in the butthole, but I'm staying here. I'm going nowhere. I'm going to ask the questions. I'm going to keep poking the hornet's nest and saying, but that doesn't make sense. As my mum always said when I was a kid, you're the kid in the Emperor's New Clothes who says the Emperor's naked. Yes, I am. I'm the one who says, why are people believing in this? I'll just ask the question. So Cat, I'm hanging around. Oh, yes. So don't worry. I will be here. Fergal, thank you. It was so annoying when the Meep and Anita referred to the boss. Why not resolve the first thing you set up, Russell? Fergal, yes, stop the overall arcs and this and that. Just tell a story. As I was saying to the press tonight, if you tuned in and saw Dalek chasing the Doctor down a corridor, do you know what? It makes sense, and I can see the jeopardy. And if you get the lighting right and a nice bit of music and some good acting, it's a really good scene. And actually, it's bloody cheap. You mentioned the boss, you open the bloody door, you get the janitor, you get a plug hole, you get this. Who bloody cares? Turn over and watch Britain's Got Talent. I honestly don't know. So anyway, the regeneration. Looking at his speech, there were some little key moments I thought were all right. I mean, I was willing it on. I was thinking, don't go on for too long, Shooty. I want this over and done with, mate. Wish we had longer. Stretching timelines too far, said the Jodie Doctor, who we'll come to. I love you, Doctor. And yes, I'm going to say that to Yaz. Oh, but yes, he was talking about, will we ever will we ever see you again? But not like this. Beautiful things can be forgotten. Oh, it was about beautiful. Oh, right. Okay, right. The regeneration we can be talking about as well as the Billie Piper, but I have to say, on the other element of the what the F was the Jodie appearing. Hiya! How you doing? I mean, I'm sorry, not my favourite Doctor. Nothing against Jodie Whittaker, the actress. I think she was just given some crappy scripts. Of course, surprise, surprise, she's now given the RTD script. Thank you, Hasler Scott, by the way. Brendan Honey, you're amazing. Zero, you're amazing. Sunny and Divine, and you're amazing. Love Shooty, mwah, mwah, mwah. Babes. Oh, babes, Hasler Scott, babes, darling. The trouble is, Hasler Scott, you know for a fact that you notice the Rani would say, darling. They were using modes of affectation in such a spiky way that it was almost making you cynical about life. But yeah, Hasler Scott, honey babes, good to see you. Thank you very much.
Just so you remember, don't you remember Poppy blowing a kiss to Gatwa and Gatwa blowing a kiss back when they were going into the zero chamber?
Yeah, that's
The affectations even infected the child.
Yeah, Matthew Burrows, I will never diss Time Lash ever again. It's Lawrence of Arabia. I know, at least it had elements. Do you know what, Matthew Burrows? I was thinking about the Time Lash today. I was thinking the lighting was all over the shop, but the place where the Borad was actually all right. And actually, although it was a little bit sexual and weird, tying Perry up and having this snake come at her was actually all right, really. And the Hoopettes love the Bandrel.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it.
Randy Howell, we're all getting distracted by John Newton's ball bag. No, sorry, his mention of the Omega. The ball bag looked like what it would happen if a Dalek and a Suntaran had a baby. Don't you dare give RTD ideas, because he loves all his cross-pollination lack. So, Brian, you're from Canada, don't you know? And you Canadians are really progressive, and you're a little bit on the left. And so therefore, Jodie Whittaker, you adore, don't you, in this?
No. And I'm not assuming the rest of the UK is as daft as you are for asking that. No, when Jodie popped on screen, I was like, oh, come on. Come on. I mean, the episode wasn't even over yet. He hadn't even regenerated, and I was already like, oh, come on. No, wait, that wasn't the first one. We'll get back to that one. Oh, my God, this thing was a mess. Would you like me to elaborate on this anymore? I mean...
Well, Brian, I'll show you first of all. She had some dialogue. No. Does it really look bigger in a room defined by its bigness? Or she always gets some rubbish lines like bigless and pop, I've been popped out, excuse me, love. I've been popped out of my timeline. Do you know what, RTD, the lines are crap, aren't they? Absolutely. Let's just look at these two lines again. Does it really need to be bigger in a room defined by its bigness? Do you know who she sounds like? Donald Trump. I've been popped out, popped out of my timeline. This is a biglier TARDIS than the last biglier TARDIS. You are the most amazing doctor I've ever seen in the history of America. Yeah, sounds like the Donald Trump doctor. Sorry, Brian, over to you.
What am I supposed to say after that?
Well, you're the 51st date, so you could say,
come on, you've ever seen, the best TARDIS
That's
ever.
right, yeah.
The biggest TARDIS.
The biggest TARDIS.
It's going to be beautiful.
You're not wrong, you become what you hate.
It is terrible. It is terrible dialogue. It's unbelievable, especially since they're the doctors who have to hear people walk in every time and say it's bigger on the inside than the outside. Peter Capaldi even said, this time, I'm going to get it right. And he gave that grand speech about, my conceptions about time and space have been, now we get that. Yeah, it was just stupid. Absolutely stupid dialogue.
Surely a female doctor talking to a male doctor, like a female talking to a male, talking about size is a problem because it will intimidate. And so the male doctor suddenly said, I better regenerate because I need to get bigger. So basically it's bigger on the inside and he's going, oh shit. So he suddenly thinks he's got to regenerate. So she's talking about size as if she's unbothered. And she's popping out. I tell you what, this could be a carry-on Doctor Who, this. I'm popping out, you're big. Honestly, RTD, you're in the gutter. And then
we don't have John to do this anymore, so we'll have to...
I And then she says, and then she does a Donald Trump bit again. There's a the biggest time schism is on its way. And I'm, oh, for God's sake, caused by you. Oh, she's got issues. And then he goes, time needs to be shifted. So I'm going to punch. Now, honestly, this is called sci-fi writing. Let's just get this again. Time needs to be shifted, Doctor. So I'm going to punch you. Get out of my TARDIS. A ton of regeneration energy into the vortex to jolt it 1 degree. Tinkerbell dust. I'm going to blast. Do you know what? This is what RTD has done to Doctor Who. This Tinkerbell fairy dust in the Star Beast, he blows it like Wish World, and everybody got a little bit of it. Do you know what? It's like air pollution. We have ULEZ in London. Do you have, there are traffic zones and everything? Honestly, what's the point of paying these things? Because the Tinkerbell fairy dust is polluting all the air everywhere. It's everywhere. He's now polluted the whole of the universe. I'm not going to do any more net zero because he's just bloody obliterated it, the prat. Yes, sorry. I'll calm down again. So
no, we understand the whole concept of regeneration now has just been ruined.
Yes.
I can use regeneration energy to do whatever I want now. I can cure you. I can punch a hole in the universe. I can shift time, whatever. It's oh no, please, Christian.
No, I was about to say you hit the nail on the head, but it reminds me of Rachel's constant grievances against the Sonic. Basically, it becomes a tool that's a catch-all to solve a variety of plot problems that you can't fix any other way. And unfortunately, just like the Sonic, the pixie dust regeneration energy is too much of a panacea. That's not a good way to resolve problems that have been created. And even worse, in this particular case, they've inserted Jodie Whittaker when she did not serve a function in the narrative of the finale at all. She's plugged in to give her a cameo, and at the bare minimum, to upstage her significance, because obviously as a female Time Lord, she's better than a male. It just goes without saying. And I'm sorry, it does not work for me on all those levels.
I need to study it again, but the TARDIS console showed you all the doctors. And after the 14th Doctor, it showed you the Fugitive Doctor. Did you see the War Doctor?
That's a good question. I can't recall that.
I was just trying. Can the thread help me here? Did you see? Definitely saw the Fugitive Doctor. I mean, she's around like nobody's business.
I think I saw that.
So the Fugitive Doctor, the War Doctor. And the other thing is, I agree with Christian. Why was she there apart from making another distraction? We'll come to Susan at some point tonight. But you have all these characters who are mentioned. But the truth is, Jodie, in a way, might have eclipsed, you could argue, his regeneration. Just like I hated the power of the Doctor and her regeneration, but then you saw all the other Doctors, and so that made it a bit better. And the whole point was, when we saw Tegan talking to Davison and Ace talking to Sylvester McCoy, weren't they the best bits of the power of the Doctor? And so therefore you could argue her regeneration story was eclipsed. And now what does RTD do? He does it again. And you just think, right, we have in these gender politics times, we could have a male doctor or a female doctor. Don't go there, but anyway, that's where we are at the moment. So we had a female doctor, but now at the moment, it's the male doctor's time. And that male doctor, who's very gay, suddenly has a female doctor appear on the console, and then he turns into a female doctor. This show's getting very, very female.
Well, but that comes back to a point that I had mentioned in a conversation with Brian earlier. Can you count on one hand how many male characters in the finale had agency?
No.
There aren't any. And that tells you something. I mean, yes, you had Conrad, but he's a tertiary character in the plot and was very quickly dispensed with. Yes, you have the Doctor, but he's kind of a different kind of figure. So beyond that, there's virtually nothing. And it tells you the direction they're going. And, oh, by the way, Isn't Disney itself famous for trying to rebrand properties they've co-opted to turn, say, boy brands into girl brands, say with Star Wars or Marvel, just as an example. So this fits that same paradigm.
Right. Okay. And now, Over the Overseer has responded to me. Brendan, it's hard to articulate, but I'll give it a go. And thank you for that. I thought the pacing was perfect. The performances were strong, especially Ncuti. The visual effects were solid, and it wrapped up more than expected. So what I will say Over the Overseer, and you know I'm going to go over all the aspects tonight, but just to quickly go on that, the pacing, I will debate with you, because like I said, by 22 minutes, the story hadn't started, but we'd had more exposition that would fulfill a whole blooming Tolkien. The performances were strong. I'll give you that. It should be. It was his regeneration story in the end. The visual effects were solid. Yes, there were. I liked the regeneration energy better than I have previously, but I wish they'd change it. And I always feel sorry for the behind the scenes crew, do a brilliant special effects and everything. Jack Dexter, thank you very much, by the way. Davison's regeneration was phenomenal. Well, yeah, milking a queen bat. I mean, good for him. Outstanding script, characterization, and Peter and Nicola were on top form. Brought a tear to my eye. Yes, and to Peter Davison's, because as he said, all that acting and you never saw it. You were looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, though. And the Hoopettes are very appreciative, as always. By the way, a few things I want to say here, lads. If I can just get this off, let's have a look. There we go. Right. So that means Ncuti's over. And I've got a few things to say here. He said he wanted to meet the Daleks. And so let's just have a quick look. Hartnell, yes, met the Daleks. Cybermen story, 10th planet. Obviously, Master didn't exist then, so obviously he didn't meet the Master. Troughton didn't meet the Master, or they've tried to change that, haven't they? Pertwee famously didn't meet the Cybermen. Paul McGann didn't meet the Daleks or the Cybermen, but met the Master. You can see Eccleston didn't meet the Cybermen or the Master. But look at Gatwa. He didn't meet the Daleks, he didn't meet the Cybermen, and he didn't meet the Master. Gatwa has not got much of a collection there, has he, lads?
No.
Nope.
Worse than Eccleston.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if our RTD didn't want to bring those enemies back, or if it's because the estates of those who own the rights to those characters didn't want to be involved. We'll never know, I suppose. But
well, I don't think there was enough time, because Brian, look at this. These are the length of each Doctor who've been in the role. So you've got William Hartnell, 2 years and 11 months. I won't read every single one out. The bar graphs do the job. But Ncuti Gatwa is 1 year and 5 months. David Tennant was 1 year and 1 month, regarding the 14th Doctor, so to speak. Jodie Whittaker, 4 years, 9 months. Peter Capaldi, 4 years, 1 day. Anyway, if you look at that, Ncuti Gatwa, and this is the other problem, that if Billie Piper's going to be a special or a couple of specials, her bar graph's going to be really small as well. And you know what I'm saying here, that suddenly we're getting lots of fast 10-year Doctors, and I think that cheapens anybody's interest in Doctor Who. But if you see that, lads, I think it's Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor's clearly been a fail, hasn't it, overall, because it's just not landed, not had impact, not had longevity. I think actually it will have been a disappointment for RTD, because he's the next big thing, don't you know? And lads, out of 16 stories in 2 seasons, 3 of them it was Dr. Light. So he's not fulfilled the criteria, really, has he?
no, he didn't do a good job at all. I mean, the most that I hear from everybody is that he just doesn't feel like the Doctor. It just doesn't seem to be the Doctor. I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah. Well, to be the Doctor, you have to have gravitas. That's the one thing that he lacks, partly because of his flamboyance. It kills gravitas in his case. Sadly, Jodie Whittaker didn't have it either. But to be in what amounts to a single year, a single season split over 2 years, and to be absent largely from 3 of those stories means he does not have a very big footprint. And one of the identifying factors behind a popular doctor is their capacity to go after one or more of the primary antagonists. And he wasn't given a shot at any. Now, I'm sure the assumption was, according to the contract we've heard bandied about, which gave him an option to stay with the role basically until 2029, that there would have been opportunities in the future to bring those characters back. But it didn't happen. And you either hit it right the first time or you don't hit it. He didn't hit it right.
So if I went round the panel, what do you actually excuse me, I'm trying to fill in all the super chats as well, and so thanks for your patience, everybody. But as I come to Sonny, I was going to say, and I'll ask the panel, then I'll do these super chats. Sonny, do you think Ncuti has left of his own volition, of his own accord, because he's got things in LA and other projects? Do you think it's because he felt as though this was starting to become a toxic ship, or do you think he was pushed because the project's not worked?
I think he wanted to leave, and then they realized the project wasn't working, and then he created a situation for himself to leave maybe quicker than RTD expected, but they were like, we can keep going without him because he wasn't doing anything anyway. So he wanted to leave until the BBC pushed him out by the end after his little stunt at Eurovision.
Yeah. And just before I'll do ET first, then I'm going to go hunting for Fergal's super chat. Thank you, ET. Did anyone notice the laughter buried in the reality shatter?
Yeah, there's one I missed. Yep.
I didn't. I will rewatch it. Whereabouts is that in the episode? Because to be honest, how much happened, ET? I mean, there was stuff all over the shop. I couldn't keep up. Yeah. But not in a good way. I was just like, oh, not again. I was sighing. I was thinking, oh, no. So, yes,
Our neighbor's banging on the wall. Keep it down, guys.
Yeah. So,
I was doing the same thing.
So Brian,
yes.
You know my question about Ncuti. Did he leave of his own volition? Was he pushed? Did he think it was toxic?
Oh, I believe he left on his own volition. First off, after the Barbie movie had taken off, I think he realized he might be a good property for Hollywood, so he decided to leave. I don't believe the Eurovision thing. In fact, I know the Eurovision thing didn't have anything to do with it. There was, I think there was an official statement made where they said they didn't like what he did, but they respected his opinion and just let it go with that. But yeah, I think he just realized, I want to move on to something bigger. But like, honestly, if I was him, I would not want to sign and say, I'm going to be here for the next 5 years.
Yeah,
absolutely not. I would not want to tie my career down to this or have it hinder any other opportunities that could be coming my way. Do you want to star in this movie? I would love to, but I can't because I'm doing Doctor Who. It always surprised me in the past whenever they wanted to bring, like, they brought back Davros and they said, unfortunately, Michael Wisher wasn't available. Bring back this character. Unfortunately, so-and-so wasn't available. That's what would have happened to his career if he was offered movie roles, other television roles, and chances are there'd be a schedule conflict and he would just say, sorry, I'm not available. So he bailed. I think he bailed while he could.
Yeah. Christian, same question.
I think that it may well have been mutual. I think it probably started from Gatwa first. He probably made noises. His agent said, if you stay with this as a sinking property, it's going to sink your career because you are going to be associated with a bomb. But right now you have high visibility. You've just done a movie. We can go ahead and find an avenue for you out if you'll just make an issue out of it and go. At the same time, the BBC probably realized that this was going nowhere and they would have nudged him if he had not opted to go of his own accord. So there was probably a mutual agreement that it was time to depart. The question was how to couch the narrative in various promotional and news stories, because they didn't want anyone to look bad in the process of him departing.
Fergal, if I've missed one of your super chats, I do apologize. Just write down in the margin, just put super chat and without giving me the money again, if you get my gist. So that but I think I've caught it. I think Ncuti jumped before he was pushed. That's where I'm landing on that one. I tend to think anyway. Now, on what the F, so we've had the Jodie, which I think eclipsing it, doesn't change the plot. Then, of course, we had Omega. So let's have a look. Let's take a look. There's good old Omega, as you always remember him. The thing is, it's an amazing effect. As Over the Overseer said, outstanding. This is Doctor Who, and I know it's got a Disney budget, but really well done. But here's my question, Over the Overseer, and anybody who's saying they really, really, really enjoyed this. The point is, if you're going to do such an amazing effect and therefore spend money on it, can it have a payoff? Because I actually think Omega is just an absolutely enormous distraction. I mean, really, his only role to me seemed to be to eat the Rani and to give us Mrs. Flood then back, which actually just seemed to be a kind of by the by. So I'm not quite sure. What a beautiful, amazing effect. Look at this. Yes, there are questions about whether you wanted Omega to look like this. I'm glad he didn't look like a giant bollock, because... or a crab or anything, because I'm sick of them always being turned into animals. But I really didn't like the dialogue, the mad dog, mad god. Therefore, he's turned mad. Oh, whatever. Anyway, why was the Rani so sure that when the Doctor dealt with Omega, she wasn't watching in Arc of Infinity, that he went into the Underverse? Really? I thought he just, Evan Rogers, thank you. We warned you, you cast us out, and you refused to listen. Series 10 on has been an abomination. Evan, I'm ever the optimist. I'm becoming alarmingly cynical. But yeah, a lot of you did warn us, and I did. I'm one of those who thought RTD might be a lifeboat after Chibnall. It's proven not to be the case. And Fergal, thank you very much. You've been lovely, lovely, lovely. So, Christian, what did you think of this version of Omega?
I frankly wasn't happy with it, partly because it was so far removed from the original. I wanted something, you could enhance something from the original so that stylistically it was consistent. But what this did is it reminded me of how they handled Sutek at the previous finale. And this character didn't even have a sense of presence in both parts of the two-part finale. This person was dispensed with, this villain was dispensed with in 10 minutes. So although the effect itself is good, and the effect is good in my estimation, it doesn't fit with the character, and it doesn't serve the narrative properly. So it was a wash for me. I could like the looks, but I didn't like anything else.
Well, just while I've got the big screen, I'm looking at my breakdown. And by the way, you were getting too excited, Christian. Omega beams as the mad dog. That's or mad god. I can't remember which one it was now. 32 minutes into the program. By 35 minutes, the door shut again and he was gone.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Hey, there's that big payoff.
What
Well,
a
yeah,
waste.
get rid of the Rani. John Yulden, good to see you. Omega is a giant skeleton now. Did he get beaten in 30 seconds flat like classic RTD writing? Well, 3 minutes, John. That's a long time for some people. 3 minutes. Sonny, have you seen the Three Doctors and have you seen Arc of Infinity?
I have seen the Three Doctors. I have not seen Arc of Infinity. Three Doctors is pretty peak. That was pretty good.
So when you saw the Three Doctors and you saw this, did you go, "Oh, lovely Omega again"?
No, but I don't know. This doesn't ruin my enjoyment of the Three Doctors. It just made me think this could have been any other monster from the Underverse, right? Wasn't there a bunch of different stuff? Like he could have just made it up. Like it just convolutes things. It just makes Doctor Who another barrier to entry for Doctor Who. It makes this season less unique on its own. But Omega justified the Vindicator. I don't even like this part. I like the Omega scene. I like the Omega scene, but I don't like the reason he's here. It just justifies the Vindicator, which is a weapon. Like that's what this did. It just retextualized the Vindicator as a weapon. He was charging a weapon this whole season. It wasn't for any other reason.
Well, I looked at it this way. They could have easily had Omega co-opt the body of Rogue and use the illusion of being Rogue to try and dupe the Doctor and put them in a more vulnerable situation, which would have been, I think, more emotionally compelling for all the characters involved. But instead, they gave us this, and they left us another plot hole. So, like, how many opportunities do they have to throw away?
You took my theory, the Omega is a rogue theory, and you just like, oh, they should have just did that.
That would have been great. That would have been great, actually.
So we've got
You want a job?
So we've got Luce here. Omega. We've got Luce here. Omega no longer physically existed in the Three Doctors. I really hate these returns being nothing like they were. I know, we're Doctor Who fans, for God's sake. Fergal, like I said, you've been really, really nice to me, and you're saying, look, it's late on, and although you're giving me €5, I'm really sorry for not using English, Brendan. I'm an ex-English teacher, don't you know? Yeah, just in case you didn't know, I always have that now. There you go. I'm the Harriet Jones of this channel. I said I'm sorry, but I thought RTD 2 was shite. There you go. I've given you, you've paid for it, and well done you. You're allowed to say that, I think, because I think we're all feeling various things tonight. Cannot Cat. I always thought the expression was eat the rich, not eat the Rani. You know what?
Go Canada.
Do you know what? I'm so disappointed that the Cannot Cat that the Rani appeared out the blue and then suddenly is just gone. It was such a non-event. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just wasn't an event, was it, lads?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a disappointment to me because I did like her performance as the Rani. I would have preferred to see her given a better opportunity, just like Mrs. Flood. There should have been an opportunity for both of those characters to shine, both as actresses and in the narrative of the plot for their characters. And none of that took place. They were thrown away, period.
Yeah. So if you just take a look at this, everybody, that's the actual, it's an amazing effect. But I have to say, when I did the Thursday think tank with Christian and Cliff, we did a grok, didn't we? We asked AI about how to, bail out Doctor Who. And one of the clearer things the AI said is Doctor Who needs to go back to more physical effects and less CGI effects. Mm-hmm. And for all that looks stunning, it would be better if the Omega character was in the room with them, properly in the room with them. And I actually do think, well, something's lost when you don't get that. Evan Rogers, thank you very much. Capaldi is still on that planet with River. Boot closed. Over the Overseer. Brendan, the CG monster thingy, yeah, him, didn't actually need to be Omega. True. It would have been more effective if it was a demon that co-opted the escape route. It still didn't offend me like Sutek did. Well, yeah, sitting on the TARDIS and having a pee. I know that was ridiculous, that. Omega could have come through as a beautifully rendered 2025 version of a gel guard. Mark, I'd have been for that. Tom by Chick, Omega doesn't have a body, therefore he can't have a skeleton. Oh, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think, I always talk about Doctor Who having to go back to what Doctor Who was, which is to have the fear factor. Yeah, the fear factor. I mean, let's be honest. If I was a kid, I dare say that skeleton might be, whoa, but 3 minutes, it's over. I haven't even had time to fill my potty.
Yeah.
The We'll talk about it later, but the Bone Beasts attacking unit headquarters was the big Star Wars moment, and that lasted about a minute. But after that, or before that, tell me if I'm wrong, kids. Was there anything to scare the kids?
For me, no. If I were to show this to some of the smaller children I know, they might be disturbed by the visual imagery of Omega for the 3 minutes he was on the screen. But because there's no real tension building up really to his reveal and was so quickly dispensed of after, and then you had that long denouement for the second half of the show where it was all a soap opera, there was nothing that there, I think, that would scare the kids. Am I mistaken?
I don't know. What do you reckon, Brian? Was there something missing where, okay, I'm 57 now, but was there something in that episode where you think, oh, the kids really would be bricking it?
When Omega did crawl out of that, I was impressed. Good special
claw.
effect. Good special effect. And if young children were watching, they probably would have got a good scare out of that. But other than this one scene, that was it. It's funny you mentioned the whole Star Wars battle coming out of the unit tower with those skeletons, because I just watched the Family Guy riff on Star Wars a couple of days ago, and they made the joke about the Imperial walkers being, look, unless we get hit by giant snow camels, we'll be okay. Uh-oh, what's that? Giant snow camels. And then sure enough, they're coming in on the base, and I actually was laughing. That came back to me. It was a great action scene, or let's say good. But this scene here of him crawling out was the best. And that's what infuriated me, was that, like you said, took about almost half an hour for Omega to come out. And then within several minutes, Vindicator, gone.
Oh, yeah. Ridiculous.
I was like, is that it? That's it?
Yep.
And that's
Sonny,
why I keep saying, no payoff.
Sonny, I've got a few here and I'll come to you, but Truth Will Out, got a nice little title. Again, on purpose. They've been seeding Omega since 2005. 20 years later, they ruined the whole thing on purpose. Why does nobody think this was all planned years in advance? Because it was. The issue is, whether you think RTD's doing a good job or not, the way he's treating some of the old classic villains by throwing them, chucking them in somebody's gob, making them into some skeleton that appears from out of a plug hole and then goes back down it again. You reckon, absolutely reckon, and don't start me on Davros having bloody legs like Lazarus. So, Sonny, is there anything in that episode that you think, oh no, I had real good jeopardy and fear?
No. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it, and I was like, maybe the scene where the Rani gets eaten. No, it's because there's no tension in any of these scenes. Like, and none of the dialogue adds to that to like help make it scary. Like, we really don't know why we're scared. And like, even when you're sitting there, even if I had a kid with me, I know they'll be like, he's gonna beat that thing, right? Like, easily. like there's no jeopardy. You know. Nobody's gonna die, like including Poppy, because you're like, space babies exist. Like you just know nothing's, it's not gonna kill anybody or do anything.
Well, John Yulden has spotted a plot hole. There's no plot holes, John. There's not. There was a plug hole. No. John, anyway, John, in that image, can I just ask, has Omega got his ass stuck in the door? No. The thing is, he didn't realize he didn't. Jodie Whittaker on Unleashed said she was so pleased she could get back into a doctor costume. Omega was shocked that he's had chips, he's had a few too many cakes, and his hips are bigger than before. And he thought, I thought I could get through that plug hole, and I can't. What a bummer! I'm going to go back down and lose a bit more weight. So, who thought every skeleton was anorexic? Not Sutek, and not this one either. But yes, John, I think he had too much weight on him. He's eating too many people. Maybe the Rani had a bit of cholesterol in her, and she was a bit sugary. I don't know. He put on too much weight. I tell you what. Anyway, Well, actually, he's going back down because he quite likes a Rogue, and Rogue's down there, and they're nightclubbing together. Ghostface, someone, I believe the explanation is that Omega is where he was originally sent to for so long that he became the thing we see like a myth. And Ghostface, I love the way you're saying that because that's basically what the dialogue said. And does that make any sense? The Doctor Who now says because somebody says something, you become something. We had that with Conrad in a way, didn't we? We had that with various. Because you say that, I've become that. Because you didn't Kid say that in the song contest? Because you said I'm a hell, blah, 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 I've become it, and you go, oh, all right, yeah, all right, free hit there. I can see people saying that's not Omega, that's a pathetic Omega. But yes, if you called him Bobby Miggins, it wouldn't have changed the script. If you called him Frankie Poo, it wouldn't have changed the script. If you'd have called him Sammy the Skeleton, it wouldn't have changed the script. The fact that that's Omega, I think, is shockingly a letdown. So I'm going to just call him Frankie Poo. Evan Rogers, Doctor is a male. Simple as that. They stole a positive male role model from a generation of young people who need it. Are you Peter Davison reincarnated? But yes, I agree with you, Evan. I have no problem with representation. I have no problem with that. I have a problem with changing a franchise way into its history. Remember, Doctor Who always seemed to be a male up to 2017. And then suddenly, way past the 50-year mark, somebody gets hold of the program and says, no, it's got to be a woman. 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 And I think that's an issue. And I don't think even though Amazon have got a hold of James Bond that they would change it to a female. So let's have a look. Oh, yes. Another what the F. Because on the Rani front, right? Was it worth bringing her back, lads? Was it actually worth her being in the plot?
No. I like both Anita Dobson. I like Archie Punjabi. I think they are both wonderful performers. But the way in which the Rani was utilized and the way in which the character was personified didn't work for me. And so I feel it was a lost opportunity.
Well, just in case you missed it, this is her explanation about how she survived.
Oh, no.
I saw it coming, the genetic explosion. I had a split second. Oh, really? I flipped my DNA, made a biological sidestep, and I survived the carnage. So how did you get to Earth? The Doctor says, I'm the only one who has a TARDIS in existence. Oh, he's a bit smug, isn't he? And then, oh, yeah, the time ring. Poor baby, it led me to you. Does that make sense? What the hell is the genetic explosion?
It made no sense. It was a non-explanation, is what it was.
It's the same garbage we got last week.
She could be talking about the time bomb the doctor flipped off, the war doctor flipped off, I guess.
Sonny, you go to the doctors and they say you're sterile, because that's what this story is. And they say, I'm sorry, you can't have kids, you're sterile. And you go, what caused it? And they say, I think it's a genetic explosion or something else. I think you'd want a proper explanation than going, excuse me? Did you have an explosion in your house? Did you have a genetic explosion? Is there an explanation? Is the genetic explosion the timeless children bit with the cyber masters and they all went weird? I don't know. What is it?
Maybe he'll try and explain it in the third and fourth years.
No.
No.
I'm sure he referenced something he read or heard in a Big Finish story or something.
It's like I said earlier, this is what he pulled last week. It's just a bunch of garbage that means absolutely nothing, but it just helps him to get his story along. That's all.
Helps. I mean, God, it was on turbo boosters, wasn't it? It was kind of and you're going, oh, really? Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah.
Well, I did say his story. This is RTD.
Fergal, I'm going to call it the Bank of Fergal. Thank you. When Amiga crawled out of the tomb as an oversized skeleton, I nearly laughed out loud, quite literally. Fergal, you should have gone to that cinema with Over the Overseer, because I think they were all cheering. But thank you nonetheless. But is anybody convinced by this bit of exposition? Because
I don't know how she flipped her DNA. Like, she made it sound like any Time Lord can just do
non-binary,
that. But, like,
non-binary.
no, I mean,
Yeah, I'm waking
maybe.
up today and I'm a bit non-binary and I flipped my DNA. There you go.
May I say something?
I don't know what
I
that
hate
means.
interjecting. I just don't want to forget this. When people have the time, they can go onto YouTube and look up the line that Mark Hamill refused to say in the original Star Wars. George Lucas said, "Here's a line I want you to read." Mark Hamill said, "No way, I am not saying that." And it's stuff like this. He absolutely refused. And when you hear this, you'll understand why I'm telling you to do it. It's just a way of padding it out, trying to get the plot moving along. And like I said, what plot or whatever, but it's RTD. It's so lazy. I would be angry as an actor. I'd be angry. I would be upset to be told to say something like this.
Well, I would go, they could have done something as simple as this. We're Time Lords. Each successive regeneration reduces our fertility. After a certain number of changes, we become sterile. So that then leaves the door open that the previous Time Lords could still conceive, but over time they lose that capacity. But it wasn't that. It was a reference to an event that we never saw.
Mm.
Yeah, it was it.
Yeah, Susan. That brings in Susan is all I wanted to say. That actually makes sense. I was just comfortable accepting they're all fertile, but like Susan becomes a huge plot hole, right? And she's part of
5 words. Sorry, Brendan.
It just feels like all we're doing is soap opera. As I said to the press tonight, EastEnders in space, because, you know, it's a classic soap opera moment when, you know, they find out they can't have kids and, you know, one of them might be more upset than the other and da. You know, I mean, it's a soap opera. It's a domestic scene. And Jess here, for example, and Jess, please, please write to me. I want to talk to you, please, Jess, yes, please DM me. Thank you. Sorry, folks, but I think you are now back to books, magazines, and Doctor Who regarding the TV series. After this parody, I'm out. I won't ever write for those who allowed this rubbish. Oh, Jess, these are really sad moments. People who stop their subscription with the Doctor Who monthly. People who, like Side Matt Strikes, who says, I'm not going to watch Doctor Who again. Or Jeremy. I'm getting too many people. Too many people on my different panels are only watching it to be on a review out of kindness to me. But actually, people are not feeling motivated. And now you're saying the same thing. I must admit, are people in an alternative universe? When I talk to the press, they seem to be quite surprised. And I'm like, no, there are an awful lot of people who've hung on till the end of season 1 and then they're dropped. Waited till the end of season 2 and then dropped. I mean, and I will do that rating show tomorrow at 1 p.m. and I'll be intrigued. In many ways, it might bump up because we all had to wait till the same time. But I've done the 5-minute breakdowns of the plot, and I just need to see the 5-minute breakdowns of who stayed around. Fascinating. I'd be very, very intrigued by that, won't you, lads? Do you know what? The music tonight, tonight really confused me because we are infertile. The species is barren, and I felt as though that was a lost moment. The moment when the Rani was eaten just seemed to be almost a comedic moment. I wasn't really getting signposted anything. Brian, you look as though you wanted to come in a few times because it's my mouth that's getting carried away.
Just nodding in agreement with you, but I did have something to say regarding the fact that you pointed out that there's a lot of people who've checked out of the show and a lot of panelists like myself who are only coming on now to do the reviews with you. I can only explain it this way. I mean, I've been watching Who since I was a child. Okay, as long as I can remember, and people, they have varying opinions on when you can actually start retaining memories. But I do know by going online and looking at broadcast dates that I was watching Doctor Who in 1979, and I have loved the show until it went off the air. Until Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, not a fan, but. The point is that to see a show that you love so much get reduced to something like this, yes, it's like definitely I want out, but it's also like a really bad car wreck that for some reason you just can't help but rubberneck, turn back and take a look and just see what's going on. I watched a couple of Gatwa episodes and then I said, I'm out. Then I start hearing about all these crazy things that are going on. Would you like to come on, talk about it? I'm like, yeah, I want to see what's going on. I want to catch up and see how bad has it actually become. And sadly, it just keeps getting worse. This was one of the worst things I have ever seen come out of Doctor Who.
Right. Well, we've got Pixel here who says the genetic explosion was the moment which the War Doctor used, the moment in the Day of the Doctor. Thanks for that, Pixel, because, look, I'm a Doctor Who fan, and it's starting to get a bit stretched, and you do need to signpost it as a writer, as in RTD does. And, people like my dad, casual viewers as well, it needs to be a bit better than the way he did it. Just saying genetic explosion, and everyone's, did I miss something?
No, if you recall, wasn't the whole point dealing with the War Doctor that he opted not to use the device? He stepped away from the brink. So they changed history, and now they're referencing to an event that's already been erased from canon by the very story that introduced the War Doctor.
I also think you're right.
Very good.
Well, remember, in the Day
Very
of the
good.
In the Day of the Doctor, that big gigantic red button, the conscience to the Doctor was Rose, Billie Piper. And I'm just wondering whether the same trick could be again, because the Rose character seems to be almost the Doctor's conscience at key bits like the Day of the Doctor. So he looks as though he's regenerated into her. And it is maybe possible that she's still a kind of conscience thing, or whether we're doing a Destiny of the Daleks thing where he's just trying on a few costumes. I don't know, but as people are saying, the genetic explosion, don't light a match. Somebody's had a curry. Crimpling the bloom. Did the genetic explosion make the Doctor and Rani sterile, or were they sterile all before? Were they shagging? I mean, does these two get it on? Lazy writing, says Jess. Incoherent babble and twaddle. We all love the word twaddle. I was using twaddle the other day. Some of the worst, and allowed by those who I hope future-wise we can name and shame. Jess, I'm dying for the book of the behind the scenes of this era. I'm dying for the book from Chris Eccleston. I'm dying to hear from John Barrowman. I'm dying to hear the real behind the scenes, because they're not telling us quite yet, are they? We don't know the full story, and I'm intrigued. Deadman, I don't think a female Doctor is such a problem, especially for young people today. But Jodie was a doll crossed with a chipmunk. Are you all right? Yeah. A gravitas. Again, I've got, and the thing is, Jodie Whittaker put all that voice on for our Doctor. She plays different roles in different things. So Chris Chibnall wanted the, you're a nasty person. Really? I mean, God, I'd be bricking at me. Fergal, the Bank of Fergal continues. Thank you. For a few minutes, I thought looms were going to be a canon. Fergal, you see, you lose me. Is this Lumbarrow and everything else? Is this, because I'm lost on all the looms. What were the looms again? Is this Big Finish?
I don't think it's Big Finish.
I'm not familiar enough with the Big Finish work.
Okay.
Neither am I.
Okay, Farsight. Thank you. Brendan, the Time Lord's being sterile is from the Cartmel Master Plan and the novels. Right. Oh, God. Do you know, Farsight, am I allowed to say I'm so not interested in the fact that they're sterile and they're this and they're that? Oh, God. Mind you, Why can't there just be not bloody gender fluid as well then, please? Can we just go for the full work, and stop talking about sex and Time Lords? Let's just get back to it.
Well,
If there's still why is gender fluid a thing in their
that is a
society?
very good point, because if you're looking at like Jurassic Park, that line, nature will find a way, that gender fluidity would be a perfect example of the Time Lords combating this. If there was a problem of them being sterile, or at least there was a problem, well, that's why we switch genders, because we have to repopulate the species as best we can and as much we can. It makes no sense at all.
Now, Pikehead here, actually thinking about it, I'm out of watching this rubbish now. It's just peeing me off. When you don't enjoy something, you've got to stop. I hate feeling like this because I used to love this show. The thing is, I understand Pikehead, but while we fans, remember, we are fans. Fans are fanatics. Fans are passionate. Fans pay money. Fans invest time and everything and thought. And in a way, passion, it's like love and hate. It can turn on a dime sometimes. But Pikehead, what I'm saying is we hang around because we have vested so much in this that we have a very valuable voice. And I'm not giving RTD the whole toy room to himself to just completely change a program that he does not own. Stephen Ryan, lazy plot writing, thins into story to make up backstory that's not been in the series. How did everyone recognize Gatwa's doctor in Jamaica? We're not seeing. I mean, I could go on. E.T., I'll just do you as well. Thank you. Extremely disappointed that the removal and redoing of Poppy as pure human could really have paid off with a Susan Foreman cameo, as Poppy could have been a man. We were tricked, E.T. I thought we were going to get something with Susan. Susan didn't exist. And I think that's an absolute cheat. Now, lads, we continue with our what the F. There's so much more. The child is contaminated, said boo, hiss, pantomime, evil Rani. The child is contaminated. Now, I assume we were going a little bit Second World War here, weren't we, with the genetics and everything. So, of course, boo, hiss, evil, yes. I want to use this line for when the audiences go down and they've got bad ratings. Oh, I think I've lost the crowd. Yeah, you have. Millions.
Oh, yes.
Over the Overseer, in reference to Caroline Ford, she's currently 84, and as far as we know, she hadn't filmed any more scenes. Seems like a loose end that'll never be tied up unless she regenerates off screen. And such a waste. Such a waste. Right. What else did we find? Oh, I noticed a few people said, oh, I really looked forward to this. It was like the diva off Mel versus the Rani. Right. So what you got was this little moment, didn't you, when Bonnie Lanford gave a steely face and went, yeah, a nasty piece of work. And you got that, didn't you?
Terrible.
But then you got this, the drama of, it was like a time ring from Genesis of the Daleks. And then, Mrs. Flood, having seen her sister or other Rani eaten, just pressed that and disappeared. Everything was so underwhelming, lads.
Yeah.
Well, there was no character arc for the various personas. We discussed a potential plan, and we all agreed on would be for Mrs. Flood to kill the Rani betrayer, which would have been a reasonable growth arc for that character, a little bit like we saw with the two masters previously with Capaldi. And yet we lost that opportunity. They didn't give any kind of a growth arc. They didn't give them any real purpose other than to deliver exposition and then to eat Archie Punjabi. And so I felt like it was a wasted opportunity, just like the Susan Foreman appearance.
And that's what Fergal says here. Thank you very much. What was the point? Sorry, and I'll bring you in, Sonny, don't worry. What was the point of the Susan Foreman appearance? I really don't know, Sonny. I just don't. What a waste.
That
is a growth arc.
That was to reel all of us old timers in who watched Classic Who.
Sonny?
That was it.
Sonny seems to have frozen. Christian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Brian certainly hit the point. It was a mechanism to reel in classic fans. It was eye candy. It was bait, and we got the bait. We fell for it, and then he played the switch. How many of us approve of bait and switch when we're the victim of it?
Nah. It
No.
dramatically, it's not good, is it? When you oversell something, this is a drama. This is supposed to be entertainment. If you oversell and people pay and go and attend, the West End performance, the theatre, the movie, and it doesn't deliver, disaster. And you see, this is one of the things I'm thinking, and I'm going to come to that with the next item when we talk about the Time Hotel. I just think if it's as easy as you just make up some MacGuffin to get yourself out of a situation that looks basically impossible and highly dramatic, like Armageddon, how many times will people tune in every week and go, oh, they're just going to press some stupid button I've never seen before? Stephen Braddock, when Gatwa says, I don't want to regenerate alone, I thought Caroline Ford would be behind him. That was the rumor. Another rumor, Caroline Ford might be like the Choji, might just kind of, give him a nudge. But the thing that really got me going, lads, was I thought, when you saw the torture scene in Interstellar Song Contest, and the shooty doctor was saying, remember, he's now regenerated, he's gone. So basically, I thought that little character arc when he said, I've got anger management issues, I don't like what I'm turning into, I thought that needed a payoff. And I thought, he doesn't want to be the Valeyard, he might turn into David Tennant, No, nothing. Absolutely nothing. His anger management issues weren't dealt with or anything else. So I just felt really disappointed as regards the Susan saying stop and find me. Basically, in the end, he thought, oh, stuff it, I'm changing body, I'm not going to find you, I can't be bothered. I think my anger management issue is gone again. Christian, were you disappointed that that particular character arc of this anger management doctor, the torture sadist doctor, wasn't dealt with?
I was very disappointed because the whole point of, say, illustrating the issue that we've all complained about, he's hyper emotive, whether he's crying or he's gleefully torturing someone that he's already defeated. He obviously has issues that need to be addressed that are not part of the Doctor as we know him, which means when you get to the finale, those issues, those deficits in his character have to be addressed. They never were. Nor did we understand why they manifested in the first place beyond a lame response from him saying he was triggered. And I'm sorry, that does not compose good character writing to me.
No. And Rose Kirby's saying, hey, Brendan, what do you think the overnight rating will be for the cinema? Now, the cinema, this is what I mean. It's going to, I think on my Sunday show last week, I said it would bounce up to about 1.88 overall million. The cinema thing, well, okay, Rose, you've asked me now, and I actually have prepared it. You know me, I'm a little devil, so let me just jump around. I have actually got a bit of research on the cinema front, so if you give me a moment, I will show you what I mean. And so Brendan just does a little bit of jumping, and you'll see, gosh, look at Brendan. So what I've done is I looked at some northeastern cinemas, and they're booking tonight. And so you'll see the Gateshead screen on the left there, and look how many seats in white were still available for the Doctor Who show. You'll go on the one in the right at Sunderland, and the ones that had been sold are blacked out, so you can see there's still a lot there. So there's two cinemas. That's not impressive, is it? That's not many really. This is another one. So there you go again. Look at all the empty seats. And here's another cinema. This one's in Doncaster. Look how many empty seats. And I'm being as fair as I can. I mean, I didn't do every cinema. This is my Middlesbrough cinema. Now, the Middlesbrough cinema split into 3 screens. Some are different sizes. Some are smaller. The red are bought. Yeah, so basically Middlesbrough did better, and you can see really there's only the front row that hasn't been sold. So, I mean, I thought that was interesting, Rose Kirby and lads, that cinema-wise, it depends where you were. Some cinemas were not selling at all. Middlesbrough's done very well. I don't know what to make of it, lads. I mean, Doncaster looks shocking.
I'm looking at this and I'm a little surprised. Last year when they did the same thing, I rather figured that Disney would pour money into buying seats in order to boost the illusion of a success, because they do have a habit of doing that with their marketing budget. So many of the seats aren't actually utilized. But now that they appear to have checked out, I can't picture them investing money in buying seats. So my theory would then be people are checking into this because they want to witness Gatwa checking out. That's the big draw.
It's a bit like Brian saying, Doctor Who used to be event TV, now it's car crash TV. That's an element of it. People can't help themselves. So on the what the F front, we had Armageddon again. Again, by the way, folks, if you do a little kind of analysis of all the different RTD finales, honestly, it gets ridiculous. We get with Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways, present day Earth as well as in space, present day Earth. Second series with Doomsday and Rose, present day Earth. Series 3 with the Sound of the Drums and the Last of the Time Lords, present day Earth. Stolen Earth and Journey's End, present day Earth. Oh, yeah. Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death, present day Earth. And here again, present day Earth. It's almost as if he, in a time and space science fiction show, he's fixated with keeping it in present day Earth. And here we go, lads. I thought the Doctor was going to be falling into Armageddon, and I'm sure every casual viewer did, but of course, we had a time hotel window behind it. It was Play School. I mean, is anyone convinced and happy about this? There it is. Whee! And all of a sudden, you can just escape. There she is. So in other words, when the Doctor says he saved the world, no, he didn't. She did.
Right.
Yeah. And
he doesn't even save himself.
Yeah,
I actually appreciated that little bit. I liked it.
In what way, though? You know me. I'm in a right mood.
Sure. Well, it's just the fact that that Time Hotel was from the Christmas episode, and it was a one-off, and we never saw it again. And when you're falling down like that, you're thinking, "Oh, how's he going to get out of this?" And when saw that little line coming, I'm thinking, what is that? And then when it opened up, I was like, okay, that was actually pretty good. That's what I was thinking when I was watching it. I was like, that's actually, if you're going to find a way to get him out of it, that's actually kind of creative. I like that. And then they lost me for the rest of the episode.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to read it out, but Mudcrab is just sat there going, what is this? How they got out of it? Mudcrab, yes, it is.
Yeah,
great RTD, award-winning RTD, who's been given a fantastic pension by doing this, came up with the world is ending. How does Doctor Who get out of this? Do you know what? In the old days, there was some logic to it. There really was. The worst thing about the old days cliffhangers is if they did that kind of interruption the next week and it was just you didn't see somebody in the background. That's the worst. But most of the cliffhangers had a kind of logic and consistency to them. Here, somebody just drew a door. I remember when Kenny Everett used to spray a black outline and then suddenly whatever he sprayed would move and become physical. This is like Play School mixed with Kenny Everett video show. And so suddenly, remember, this cliff edge, so to speak, this balcony has disconnected from the Bone Palace. And suddenly Anita can find a falling, moving balcony.
Yeah.
What?
No, it was contrivance. It's Deus Ex Machina. God steps in and resolves a crisis that you can't otherwise repair. I like her character. Her relationship with the Doctor in the Christmas special is frankly the best part of that episode. But unfortunately, the way in which she's utilized, although it's a convenience, it's also a contrivance. It's very artificial. It doesn't feel like it's a natural outgrowth to the suspense of the plot. It's a cheat. And it's a cheat for some lazy writing.
It is, but we've got people, I mean, fair dues, Neil, I like Time Hotel use too. Clever for RTD. Well, Moffat. I just The trouble is that, but can I just say, where's the jeopardy though? So Neil, all I'm going to say is, if you've got casual viewers and you want to build an audience, like Traitors has built an audience, like the Postman drama built an audience, and I've done many rating shows where Doctor Who is not building an audience. What is the point in committing to watching a Doctor Who episode if you can just make up any rabbit hole, any magic trick? Here's a box of frogs. Oh, look at I didn't tell you that under my hat I had a duck. For God's sake, what is this? I want, am I allowed to say this? I want something clever. I want something thoughtful. Christopher H. Bidmead would go, what? Logopolis, E-Space, block computation and all of it. Christopher H. Bidmead, Barry Letts, Jerry Davis. I mean, really, these people are in the same universe as RTD saying you draw a door on a moving target and then an usherette appears and goes, I'm here to save you. I mean, is this what Doctor Who is now? Good for her. She was a nice character. I think we all liked her character. So she opens the door, and then look at this, everybody. If people who didn't see the episode, and then there's also a door into UNIT. May I just say, UNIT is supposed to be a top security organization, and there's a hole in the wall. I mean, hello. So there's a time hotel hole. And you know what? There was a very farcical moment, lads. Remember when we were getting to the dramatic bit of the episode, technically, when the Doctor, a bit of dialogue, he shouts and he says, keep the time hotel door open. We need the normal time air. What? So it's like a ventilation system. Keep the door open. Put something on the, it's a bit like when you have to kind of put something to keep the door ajar. Now, everybody, if you didn't see the episode, this is how it was used. So here we go. Number one gets him out of peril without the Doctor doing anything. He's got no agency. She saves him. And she's a pregnant woman. More babies. And she's also screwed a bloody hole in the wall of UNIT, a top security organization. Then she shows him what's going on from the hotel room. And then she starts to say, oh, but the hotel's getting abandoned and shaking and oh, dear me. And then she shows us the Doctor. She seems to have all these windows into the Doctor's life. Oh my God, it's Clara. It's Impossible Girl. Here we go again. And we had this lovely bit from Day of the Daleks. And you know what, lads? This is my favourite bit. Just looking at a bit of Day of the Daleks. With a bit of re-enhanced, with a bit of Troughton on the tip. This was my favourite bit. It just felt like Doctor Who. And then we got that.
You gotta like both of these. You gotta like both.
Yeah. And then it was a bit of a joke, wasn't it, lads? That basically she was watching and then she shut the hotel door because I think they got it on.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're doing this in the same story where he's having a baby with another girl and like he's trying to make a family life work that he doesn't really want. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, we were trying to work out, did he make Belinda pregnant? But meanwhile, he's away with him, Rogue. And meanwhile, Anita's pregnant. Now, I know he was a plumber, but I wasn't quite sure what the hell was going on then. But I know he's sterile. But maybe it's handy that he's sterile. So basically, he's sterile, but he's got Belinda pregnant, and Anita is also pregnant. This was like a pregnancy episode. I felt as though it was like a hospital watch. So yes, so there you go.
Lot of babies.
There was that. Now, one other thing is, let's just get you going. Bingo card time for a second, just to prove this was the big one for me. Yes, well, it's a fast one tonight. Brokac Bingo. There's my card. I know you sent it, Brian. I've been like working like a madman, but I don't know what you did, Brian. But I basically almost filled in the whole card. This was the most complete I've done all year. We had, remember, the blue ones are the ones that I didn't see any evidence of. The Doctor weak or indecisive. Well, in the end, he kind of decided to blow up the TARDIS and himself or something. Mavity was not explained. Somebody in the thread did ask, and no, it wasn't explained. Anti-capitalist and anti-religion, we didn't get anything like that. But oh my
There
God,
was anti-religion.
was it?
There was
Oh, well, yeah.
rampant, because he was talking about how the gods can't do anything. The gods play games and he beats them every time. He dances on the gods, and he was talking about how he's better than every other god or whatever. Like he was talking about that the whole time. And really the episode was saying the Doctor's a god. Like it's trying to usurp a religion. Like it's the whole episode is really anti all religion.
Right, yes.
I disagree with that, but that's his take, and I've got mine.
Yeah, he said the original sin. He called Omega the original sin. Yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry. I know. And I've like I said, I've been trying my best. There's always something you miss out. Every time I do this bingo card, I agree with you, actually, Sonny, because I can see what Sandy's saying here. And yes, original sin was mentioned, I think, twice, at least twice.
Actually, and that'll come back with canon change.
Yeah. So basically, we don't know what these scorecards prove, as I've always said. But on my Brokac Bingo, I made this card before the season started, based on what RTD tended to give us. So I kind of just set a formula, and it just seems weird that in our finale, in our 8th episode, I filled in most of the card. Does that mean anything? Does it mean he's predictable? Does it mean he's lazy? Does it mean he's unoriginal?
Actually, it means all three of those, Brendan, just so you know. I can't add anything any more to that. If you hadn't been able to craft this scorecard, it would have been because he was unpredictable. He was very original. He was doing things that you couldn't anticipate. But knowing his style and his mission, it was very easy to compose this and to tick these off. And the fact that he basically utilized most of them for this finale is no surprise to me at all.
Well, good old Garbage, moderating for us, doing his best. I'm dying to see what he's done with the Hoopets in the future. We need a new option on that card, Brenda. I know this is what I mean. I mean, you make the card and then you're going, oh, I should have had that. But I didn't want to doctor it as the season went on. But basically, regurgitation. As I said to the person who I was talking to, the press tonight, I said, rehash. Well,
I said, Brendan, what about all the exposition that went through? This episode, if you were to go minute by minute, was more about just dialogue explaining what someone was doing and why they were doing it than actual action moving the plot forward.
Yeah, I will do a bigger analysis for the Sunday show, but when I looked at the analysis of the 5-minute breakdown of the plot, and when I looked at when things were happening, most of the episode is soap opera dominated. It really is, and it's got babies coming hither and thither. And if you're a Doctor Who fan who wants your sci-fi, you've got that one little attack sequence. You've got a giant skeleton who's got a big backside, so he can't get out the plug hole. And that's it, really.
The Vindicator.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Vindicator. Now, there's stuff on gender fluidity and everything here, but it means I've got to get back to this, which is, I know this triggered you. Go on, Christian, over to you. I'm not saying a word. Go on.
The moment he did the big reveal, and he comes out, this is who I am. And he's got the dress on. And you had the choral voices behind him. I was going, oh, my God, no. Please, don't do this to me. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. And it felt very over the top, very, very camp. It's like even the music was conspiring to spoil any of the moments for me. I'm sorry. This moment did not work for me, shall we say.
It's weird because if he does turn into a female Time Lord, he turns he starts to wear a dress. It's just weird how this happened.
Well, if we knew that he was going to turn into a male Time Lord, maybe Whittaker could have put on a suit before she turned into Tennant.
But can I just kind of make the argument? And as a gamer, I've got to say this because people sometimes only half hear things. Since Capaldi, since 2017, we haven't had when I say we haven't had a male doctor, you know what I mean? We haven't had a good male role model. We've had a diva gay. Yeah. A diva gay is not the same as just a gay person. I mean, he's been a diva. He's been so bothered about how he looks. He even had to have the line at the end from the Jodie doctor saying, "You're beautiful." I mean, for God's sake. So the doctor now fancies himself. I mean, technically, you had one doctor saying, "I fancy the other." Do you know what? I'd really prefer the John Pertwee, Troughton doctors just arguing with each other. That seemed better than actually having the doctors going, "Do you know what? Do you want a room?" Yeah, I like you. Honestly. But then, and actually, they could have Ncuti because they're sterile, so it's safe sex. Though. I don't know. It just disturbs me. This is supposed to be also for kids. RTD says it's for kids. There's no trigger warnings in sight. But if you only think for half a second, like a curious 12-year-old, the doctor fancies himself when he's a woman. They're both sterile. What does that mean? There's questions here we don't want kids asking, and there's questions we shouldn't be asking. We should be flying in the TARDIS and getting to that planet Zog and sorting out their crop rotation. That's what's supposed to be going on. And sorry, I'll finish this line because my old head. Kate Stewart. I think we're supposed to like the Brigadier. We're supposed to like Kate Stewart. But she was given the line, "What are you wearing? What's that?" So she has to look non-progressive. She has to look like a dinosaur. But to be quite honest, most of the human race would say, "What the hell are you wearing?"
Yeah. Well, at least when they did the male and female versions of the Master encountering each other, and Sims making the observation, "I'm strangely attracted," or something to Michelle Gomez. Is that wrong? And she, I think, remarked, "Absolutely." I thought that was a very funny moment. Remember
they
that?
took it a step further than that.
Yeah.
If you recall.
Yeah.
It was, is that a Sonic in your pocket? Or are you just glad to see me? They actually made that joke, and it was funny. But actually, to what Brendan was just saying, these kinds of discussions that we're having right now, I never thought in a million years we would even be having about Doctor Who. We shouldn't even be having these discussions. And why? Because we have to watch this, like you said, this soap opera, gender swapping, God, from another universe garbage. It's just, this isn't Doctor Who.
Can we also say, because we have to be reasonable with this, when people allege that the show has been captured by an agenda, right? Now, we can all agree or push back on it. It's been captured by an agenda is the assertion. The Jodie doctor, whether you liked her or not, today she kind of said she loved Yaz. So basically it kind of fell into she was gay. Then we had, after her, forget the Tennant, because he was gay as well. Remember that doctor? He fancied Isaac Newton. So we've had a gay 13th Doctor, a gay 14th Doctor, and a gay 15th Doctor, and now we get Billie Piper. Now, when I say the series has become very feminized, very butchered away from being a masculine program, look, I'm all for fairness, and I know some people pushed back on me in the thread and said, "Oh, I don't mind a bit of female domination in it." Yeah, no, but listen to what I'm saying. Where is the straight male representation? Colonel Ibrahim was a pathetic bloke who didn't know how to date a woman, and he needed to be given a tip. I mean, I don't see where it is. Conrad was, he now works in a chip shop or something, isn't he, in the kitchens? They've made him a pathetic
with the family. Yeah.
So yes, I wasn't happy about this. And then, of course, when we have to talk about representation, he continued. So we've had 3 gay doctors in a row. And then we had this moment, which I find interesting regarding how Rose Noble is supposed to be about 15, sorting out shoplifting in Catford, remember? Appears from nowhere again. No narrative impact, no nothing. But just to have another nice line about the same issue. Yasmin Finney must be surely, is she... all she's there for is to do the same message again and again and again. And so basically, what was the message? Here we go, everybody, in case you missed it. Rosie Conrad, says the doctor. Conrad couldn't imagine you even for a second, so you didn't exist. But now you are back, thanks to Anita. Oh, of course, Conrad's a nasty dinosaur who doesn't believe in the trans movement. That's why he's a dinosaur. But you know that, without me going into the trans debate, are we talking about adults or children? It's a moot, it's a tricky one. It's a sensitive one. And she is still technically a child, cast report, etc. And RTD's language is outdated. Some would say illegal. However, remember, we have had a Supreme Court rule in Britain in the last few weeks. So I'm not speaking on behalf of my viewpoint. I'm only repeating the law. So, RTD, what the hell are you doing? And since this is the only bit she does in it, what's the point?
Tokenism.
Propaganda. Yeah, well, to push your agenda. It's...
Remember, I'm not saying anything about trans rights regarding adults. It's trans rights and children. And this is what this is. And it doesn't have a payoff, Christian, does it?
There is no payoff. The character was inserted just to push a point. If there had been some narrative function for the character or some agency to how they defeat the enemy, great. But there was none of that. This was an insertion. This is what you call plugging in a token character to serve a propagandistic point. And I'm sorry, again, it does not work for me.
Yeah. I remember last week we were talking about this and how I was saying so many friends of mine that, that were, whether they were, gay, black, trans, whatever, and they all thought the show was garbage now. My point is that I think at the end of that discussion, somebody had said, but should this be in Doctor Who? And that was when for the first time, I just thought about that and I shrugged and I said, no, probably not. That was that's when it just clicked in my head. Probably not. That's just not Doctor Who. I have no problem with any of it. My personal life is my personal life. My beliefs are my beliefs. Other people's are theirs. That's fine. But when it comes to Doctor Who, we're supposed to leave everything at the door and just go on an adventure. Have some, like Brendan said, where are the scares? Where are the thrills that we used to have? They're all gone. It's all soap opera moments and trying to teach the next generation about how we're all so diverse. And it's like, we know that we're all so diverse. We go to school every day. We have friends. And it blows my mind that they actually have to put it on TV and do this now when the kids are living it. They're living it every day. They know.
Well, actually, the kids actually know a more subtle version as well, because the kids know where we stand on this one, and they've got a program that's outdated. Remember, and this is the other thing I've got to keep saying, having taught kids, and Christian's the same, the kids are not watching this. So the message is lost, even if it's for them. So the adults are going, excuse me, not happy about this. I don't agree with this. Don't you ram it down my throat. And it's a different reaction. Meanwhile, the kids aren't watching. Mark Jones, it's very interesting, Mark, isn't it? Brendan, this was filmed over a year or 18 months ago. They could have edited it out, I suppose. Were they bothered about the law? Were they bothered about the fact that this is actually technically a trigger warning? No, because RTD still thinks he rules. Look, Rose Noble could have been a great character, Sonny. The trouble was she just appears for a second, has a message, and clears off again.
Yeah, it would help if they would actually embrace the counterpoints, right? But instead, they live in their own wish world where they think the noise and people don't exist who disagree with them. But if they embraced the counterpoints and actually explored it and argued it, at least then it would be interesting, right? Like something you can debate about and talk about. They just pretend like people don't exist who they live in their own wish world, a hug box of themselves that they just promote an echo chamber and just repeat the same thing over to try to make it reality. It's very projecting, like this whole season and the episode itself.
Yeah. So we had that. So there's Rose Noble back with the doctor being gay in a skirt who got that woman pregnant with a baby that kind of exists but doesn't. I mean, it just goes. I mean, casual viewer alert here. What? So basically, this picture was really funny, lads. Did you notice the scene lasted about 4 seconds and he just smiled like, I thought, is this it?
It looks like a photo op. They went to Sears. They got the best backdrop ever.
Yeah,
We're doing it.
It's almost like when you used to see a Conservative MP when he'd been having an affair and he made his wife and kids all stand next to him. And and say to the press, we are a happy family. And he's got the
hell
on his
what is
back.
it? President Macron in France, his wife pushing him. This is the next day. Next day, we're good.
So I'm not convinced by that at all. And then here's the other MacGuffin. Did you know that everybody? I don't know. I'm bothered about trans rights. Rose Noble is chipped. Is that fair? Is she a union? She's only checking on shoplifting in Catford. She should be chipped. But the genius of RTD is, did you know they were chipped? Did we know they were chipped?
No,
that's a super villain move and a half. If I knew that, I would have been saying Kate Stewart was the main villain the whole season. I would have been saying that every review if I knew that. That is so evil. What?
That's RTD sitting at the typewriter's computer, whatever, and just going, I got a way to get us all out of this. I'm going to put chips in everybody's necks, and then we can just instantly set them all free.
That's
all
it. That's it.
That's what Russell does. That's how he writes, and it's boring. To say the least. Actually, no, it's boring, it's annoying, and now it's starting to me off.
So can I just say, because I joined the dots. We had a Time Hotel appear on a moving target. I don't know how she programmed that. That was the Get Out. This is another Get Out, because suddenly all these unit people who were all living in, Trampland and Camp City and sitting there with RuPaul Misfits and everything, suddenly they all found themselves because they have a chip. I'm not too sure if this is good on human rights, but that was genius. There's even more. I mean, remember Ruby Sunday suddenly was an expert on being able to do a kind of counseling session with Conrad and working the transmat. I thought was Blake 7. Suddenly they all have a transmat. Or is it like Doomsday again? When her dad appears out the blue, and I've got a bracelet. That was
bad.
Yeah, I feel as though we were doing a revisitation of everything that's ever been in RTD's head. I've got lots of ideas, Well, show us one new one, please. So yes, we had the
movies. This was in cinemas. He had to bust out all the chops.
Wow, that's some bad BO.
Well, we've got Reverend Steve Amore here. I know Catford, not doing a good job at stopping shoplifting. I've seen guys running out of Lidl with bottles of unpaid scotch. Get it onto it. Reverend Steve, I think they got away with it because Conrad had wished her away. Do you know what I mean? She wasn't there then. Now she's back on the job. You're safe as. Go back to Tesco. She'll be all right then. So this bit, you were mentioned, I can't remember if it was Sonny with the Sonics.
Oh, insanity, because that's not what she was doing. Like, she was trying to stop what he was doing, And then he's like, well, now I can control anything she can control now. I was like, what? Like, what? How do you know the frequency to the hovercraft? What are we doing?
Oh, honestly, people, please. I know
I don't
people.
think
I will maintain, I think we are a reasonable channel and we are trying to be reasonable. If it looks as though a lot of us have kind of now lost it a fair bit from where we seem to normally be objective, it's because time hotel window on a moving target, microchipped, which means you can get them all back just like that. It's like another subwave network thing. It's a bit the blood thing with Christmas Invasion. You then have this Sonic where he fires it at the Rani Sonic and they kind of short each other out. And then it just so happens a few minutes later, he goes, it just so happens I recoded. And they're thinking, but why did he recode? Can anyone tell me, how did he know that by recording her Sonic just like that, he would be able to get that bone jet ski? I mean, this is just...
did he ever see it?
That's like what I was going to say. Did you know it existed?
I do not recall the scene where he actually saw that.
Yes.
When he was
I don't think he...
Last week, when he was at unit and he was out, but it was when he believed in all the wishes, though. When he was falling for it, he saw her flying past the window, didn't he?
On the observation deck.
That's all he needed.
The Wicked Witch shot. The shot.
The HR Puffin stuff shot, yes.
It's just the whole episode is full of tricks and contrivances and get out of jail free cards. That's why we're all upset and angry right now. There's no real story here. It's
but
just
by the way,
effects.
I'll come to Sonny because I can see he wants to say. I did think overall some of the effects, like the skeleton of Omega, the bone beasts who we'll see in a moment, were outstanding. Mm-hmm. And the battle sequence was outstanding. This sequence was not. The flying of this jet ski was uncomfortably bumpy. And I don't want to knock the guys behind the scenes because he's asked Empire of Death. RTD asked too much of CGI, didn't he? Too much. Ripping up the vortex. And this time, just a little bit too much. And this is the other thing, Sonny. RTD to excess. Pull back on the CGI. Tell a little bit more story and actually save on the budget, will you, mate?
Tell a story.
We hope it gets rid of that cleverness because it's done to make the Doctor look like a god figure. But the problem is when it's done in classic Who or even prior to New Who, there was a scientific logical reasoning, right? And usually the shortcut was the sonic screwdriver. It literally blew up in this episode. He shouldn't even have it anymore. So I thought he was going to do something cool, but no, he just went back to using his magic wand like he's in Harry Potter.
I thought he pulled out a second one.
Yeah. I mean, Rachel, obviously, she's been editing away saying, what battle sequence, what reality? Well, give us a chance. I'll get to it. I'm going piecemeal here, just like you have. So you've got the bone jet ski here. This sequence in particular, I mean, it's a nice drone shot, but it didn't work CGI-wise. I thought this was a little bit weak. And it's just unnecessary. The whole thing's unnecessary because by now nothing was making sense at all. And I don't know. So yes, this bit didn't make sense. Oh, and this.
Don't need money. Don't need fame.
Now, for me to explain first, and then the lads can come flying in. By the way, folks, if you didn't watch Doctor Who tonight, and well done, the scientific advisor for UNIT has hot tracks. She's one of those hot women. I tell you what, I was talking, was it a week ago, about her bazookas in the toilet? And this week, she pressed her joystick red button again. I thought, oh, she's not going to send another bazooka off. She's got anger management. No. She was speeding. Now, may I just point out, London, 20 mile an hour speed limit. Can I just point out, we're in ULEZ. She is one of those bad scooter riders. You know those people? Did you see that rogue video a few weeks back where everybody has to go about 20 miles an hour and then somebody's on a motor scooter on an electric, the electric motorized chairs, and they were going about 60, overtaking all the cars, breaking the speed limit. Look at her. And I'm sorry, it's a cartoon effect. Am I watching Roadrunner? Beep, beep. What's going on, Sonny?
I honestly don't know, because she didn't even do anything. What did she do for the plot? Like, I don't even know where she was going. She didn't do the stunt. That's what really made me mad. I was like, did we even see her like go in the chair? No, you just literally got the flames. It was so lazy and forced and hand-fisted. It made me want to push her out the chair, but I wasn't there.
So we've got a few things as I come to Christian. I'll just pick up on these. Stephen Ryan, a flying scooter looked like scenes from Wicked over the rainbow. All was needed was witches. Yeah, exactly. Heather thinks, I love Back to the Future. Tom by Cheek think it's a Back to the Future reference. Dalek Lives Matters going, what's funny about it? I think we're laughing in kind of the, with hysteria. We've just lost it. Stephen Braddock, the Back to the Future wheelchair scene. So basically, are we going meta? Is this the whole point, Christian?
Well, he's made a point out of going meta on numerous occasions, and this fits another meta point that we've been looking at. I don't think he can help himself. He loves making these little references, such as the reference to the two Ronnies when Mrs. Flood departed in her scene. And I thought, okay, yeah, another real world reference, meta reference that he's going to make a joke with. This fits that profile. I don't think he can help himself. It's not helping the show, though.
And I can cope, Brian, with a joke in Doctor Who. I can do it. Now, for example, me and Christian, I think, disagree on the two Ronnies joke. When we had the two Ranis and we had the two, yeah. Now, Christian, for example, go on. You tell us what you didn't like, just for those who didn't see the show tonight.
It's the reference between Ronnie Barker and Ronnie
Corbett.
When they would sign off, it's good night for me and it's good night from him. And it was that kind of remark that Mrs. Flood makes when she departs. Well, that's good. That's it for the two Ronnies. Good night from me. She checked out. I got the reference because I used to watch the two Ronnies. And it was a moment that kind of took me out of the story because it's a meta moment into the real world that I don't want to have referenced for something like this. Kind of like the references about Donald Trump during the Whittaker run. I don't want the real world references plugged in because it's going to date it in a way, but it's also going to break that bubble of that suspension of disbelief that I want to immerse myself in as I'm watching the story. I don't like meta moments in a show like this.
Yeah. Well, Lee Smith says, don't cross the streams. Like I said, I don't mind a bit of humor in Doctor Who, as long as it's balanced by a lot of jeopardy and seriousness, but we weren't getting that. I mean, did you like that moment, Brian? And did you like all this?
Did I like the moment? No, I thought it was stupid and ridiculous. I mean, right away, I was just like, roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. I just thought it was... Sorry, that's the best Doc Martin I can do. Marty! No, it was just stupid. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. No, I think it was stupid. Now, I agree with Christian. Normally, if I'm invested in a television show or a movie, the last thing I want is something to drag me out. And that suspension of disbelief or whatever, just suddenly I realized I'm watching a TV show or a movie. I'm not in it anymore. And thank goodness I wasn't in this to begin with, because, yeah, this would have... And I just say that on its own. But, yeah, I would have been upset by this stupid joke. But... yeah. I wasn't invested in the show at all.
As Paul Holgate says, every moment in this show takes you out of the show. And that's the problem. I can have a moment. I can cope with it, but not time, hotel window, this, that, add it all together. And I just started to think, what is going on? Plus, there was a lot of stationary scenes. If you took the jet ski bone thing out and the battle sequence, which we're going to look at in a minute, there was nothing else of real movement. It was people stood around going, yeah, you didn't realize that I actually knew what you were doing last week. And well, and have you looked at me, doctor? I'm pregnant. He was bricking it for a second, going, well, I was in a gay nightclub. It had nothing to do with me, love. He was like, what is going on? Now, Jess, good to see you. I hope you've also written, give me a DM. Thank you very much. For the Hoopets prescription charges regarding sedatives, they'll be busy. I think they'll be busy tomorrow, Jess, won't they? Very, very busy. Let's just see if they're still around. They might have gone to bed. You know what they're like, these Hoopets, the swines. Yeah, Grandad's still awake. He was in the bin last week, I mean.
Yes, he was.
He's been resurrected. Basically, if anyone says, Brendan, I thought you'd killed one of them off. Yeah, I'm like RTD of streaming. I've done the reset button. Yeah, you know, it's allowed. If it's allowed for the program, it's allowed for my little streaming service. So there we go. What about this? Now, so Rachel was saying battle sequence, question mark. Well, you know what I mean. It's this bit. And it was technically a battle, wasn't it, Christian?
It was technically a battle, you know, kind of pretty, but you'll notice that they did not effectively destroy anything. But I always had a problem with these creatures in the first place because they're supposed to come from another dimension. And certainly they can take any form they want, but for them to largely take forms of dinosaurs, for lack of a better term, or other animals that are earthbound, also threw me. It's like, okay, now that you've explained where they're from and the purpose they serve, it doesn't line up. It needed to be something other than these bone creatures that were being fought against. But I hate to say it, I did not feel any moment of tension or suspense or satisfaction watching them shoot at the bone creatures. I just got nothing out of it.
No, I'm looking at the
They felt like kind of a big nothing to me.
Yeah, I'm just looking at when they came into it because it's an exciting moment for any kid watching this. But the attack only lasted 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And then we had the nonsense, and I do think it was nonsense. We've got to be honest, there's a point when you're not making Doctor Who, you're making a different show, and the unit tower, suddenly the whole skyscraper can turn. It's like, what the hell? Can't they just have made guns on different sides? It was starting to become a little kind of silly Meccano set. I thought, is this Transformers or something? And I don't know. It's a great effect. As a kid, I'd have been bought into this. But I was just, like I said, I was looking at how many minutes we were into the episode, and I think we were pretty way into the episode here. And RTD, as a good writer of Doctor Who, should have had, with this brilliant effect, should have had it done early on, or I'd have rewritten the script and had this as part of the cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
This is because it's much more intimidating. You've bust a gut with the CGI. You know, suddenly you look behind you and there's a giant bone beast firing at you. Cliffhanger, come on. You know, I just think if he'd restructured his 2 episodes and with the same money, he'd have got more out of these bone beasts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what
this
he
would have
needed
been very
to do.
helpful in Westworld.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if he had taken the 2 stories and cobbled together a 90-minute movie out of it, a genuine 90-minute movie, you get rid of a lot of the exposition and reposition the action sequences and make sure that if there's any kind of expository information, it comes through the action. So you're not having 15-minute swatches of people explaining what they're doing and why. No monologuing. It would have been paced better. This was a poorly paced film, and Porty paced 2 separate episodes. So
and the bone beasts themselves were rushed they were kind of the gel guards, weren't they? Because I think there was a rushed bit of exposition saying that they were tidying up the antimatter bits or the antibody bits or something. There was something there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
They are kind of
yeah.
cleaners. To be honest, Sonny, weren't they basically the Reapers again? Because the Reapers in Father's Day appeared because there were tears in the universe, and they were cleaning out the time paradoxes. And I thought these were the same
That's what I
thing.
was saying. Yeah, the Reapers were for time. I guess this was more for the underverse and actual dimensional space, reality type stuff. You would think it should be closer to the same thing, but they did like emphasize the underverse part, and the bone creatures do look a lot more like Omega now that I'm looking at it. So like I've always thought Omega just mutated in the underverse to look more like these things instead of like they can become whatever form they want, but that's the best I can sweep.
Yeah.
I would have preferred to have seen the Father's Day characters brought back and modified to service this purpose, because at least it would have been a callback that kind of made sense in terms of the function they served.
Yeah. Dead Man, I'd much prefer old unit with dumpy safe houses. Yeah. Well, it would be more secure because everybody knows where this blooming unit is, and there's a time hotel back door. There's this. I mean, the zero. Oh, gee, God. Well, I don't know where to go on this, lads. The zero room. Hello? The zero room?
It looked like a recording studio.
Yes.
You know, exactly. That's the first thing that popped into my head. They didn't even have they didn't even bother to put roundels on the wall, make it pinkish, nothing. They just called it a zero room, and it was just an acoustic box. Stupid.
Yes, oh God, I don't know. I mean, Sonny, this sequence, the zero room, were you buying into this?
Some of it, maybe. I don't know. The Zero Room was really cheap to me because that's a ripoff from the Blacklist, I guess, where it was literally almost like the same scene where there's this box that they keep the super dangerous criminal in, but it also reminded me of the Pandorica. I'm like, oh, so he's ripping off the Pandorica because like obviously nothing's affected inside of there. Right. So like it was just all so obvious. I skipped through this part where they were shooting the lasers. I was like, I get it. So it was just so obvious and kind of trite.
Now, isn't it funny? We're talking about the episode. Rachel here, who obviously is reviewing the episode as well on my channel, but will be doing her own as well, says the only bit that warrants a standstill and talk moment was when Rani was revealing her plan and reasons for it. I've written that down, Rachel. Number one, I still don't understand. I mean, I know what you're saying. Warrants a standstill and talk moment, or water cooler moment. What she basically wanted to bring Gallifrey back, and as the Doctor said, and turn it into lots of Omega Gallifreyans. What the hell are you talking about, Rani? To me, there was no motive. I actually think the RTD was forcing a motive on the Rani that made no sense. Almost like sometimes the Master was given a motive, and I thought, nah, I'm not buying it at all. I mean, I didn't really buy into the Logopolis bit, really. I'll be honest with you. I'll just say some heresy now. When he, you know, people of the universe, please attend carefully. I don't mind the speech, but of course, I don't know. I know he was holding the universe to ransom. And then that one pause caused entropy. I get it. But I never thought the Master was wanting to wreck the whole universe. That turns him into Sutek with a suit, doesn't it? So I wasn't convinced by Rani's motivation at all. I wasn't buying it. Not at all.
I could have been convinced if they explained it over the course of 7 episodes throughout this season instead of just showing me Mrs. Flood. Like if they were like, oh, she missed hanging out with other Time Lords or something. Like, oh, I've been a renegade for so long, and now that they're actually gone, I kind of want them back. And I saw the Doctor try to bring them back, and it didn't work, or something. Just anything to get into her thought process. I could have bought that. The Rani wanted to bring back the Time Lords or build a new Gallifrey. I can buy that experiment.
Now, everybody who didn't, I feel as though I'm almost jealous of these people. The people who didn't watch Doctor Who tonight. Oh, I mean, look at this. The Doctor has a creche. He has a nursery in the TARDIS now, which is a bit weird because on the other side of the TARDIS, he's got a very loud jukebox, which seems stupid to me. So basically, he's got something that will blast music, and then we've got a baby in a really cheap version of a cot and near a death trap of falling off because those handrails will not solve anything. Yes, Doctor Who was turning into a creche, and there was even dialogue that him and Belinda were going to wallpaper and change the configuration of the TARDIS. And I was about to get my knitting patterns out, and I was about to get, really granny-ish and actually start making a pom-pom hat, because I thought, what the hell am I watching?
You weren't watching anything that was intelligent at this point, I can say that. Again, another one of the moments that didn't work for me. The only person who seems to have a perception of the child that was still there, that everyone else is forgetting. The layout, the concept that he's going to basically have a life more or less with Belle didn't work for me. This whole sequence did not work for me watching it. It felt very artificial.
And Christian, I was bored. I was bored.
Yes.
That when you see the Doctor, a Gallifreyan, a time traveler, talking about, and making a nursery and who's going to feed her the bottle and all this, and we'll try and make sure it's safe. I really did start thinking this has really killed Doctor Who into some domestic dirge. I'm bored. I really don't want to watch the most domestic version of Doctor Who in history. No.
It's not the Doctor. It's not Doctor Who.
No.
They know that, though, because that's why they threw it all out right after this. They threw it all out. They know that, but he can't help himself from writing soap opera camp instead of sci-fi.
Yeah. Tom by Chick, the reason I didn't smash the telly is it's because I'm a naughty boy. I've got a big 85-inch telly, and I'm not going to risk that. The one thing I will say, Tom by Chick, is on an 85-inch telly, watching Doctor Who did not make it any better. It just meant everything was magnified. And I was sat there. I mean, Lee Smith said ages ago, I'd love to see a version of you watching this. You wouldn't. You wouldn't. It would not be good. I'd have to edit it to death. You wouldn't be. But yes, this domestic thing. And right, okay. I've heard people. I think I was talking to Sean, and Sean said he quite liked this when there was a bit of dialogue between the Doctor and Belinda, and that kind of shawl or whatever it was, or coat for the baby. Every time they passed it, it got smaller. And Ruby was watching, going, "Oh, something's up here." Oh. And I don't know. I was out by this point. I wasn't really bothered.
It was a metaphor that we didn't care anymore about by 20 minutes before it even happened. I'm sorry. I don't want to be Mr. Negative here, but you take go back to his original run and you take The Stolen Earth and Journey's End, was it called? Mm-hmm. You take that and then you take this one. Tick off on a little piece of paper every time they have that dialogue that's just filler and exposition. It makes no sense at all. Okay, you just do one and the other on each show. How many times they had insane special effects battle sequences or whatever, just line them all up, and you're gonna, by the end of it, you're gonna see that the Stolen Earth episode will make much more sense. We'll have less all this he's just throwing everything that he possibly can at you in this story. There is so much to take notice of and so much to remember some of it's not even important at all. They're just throwing it at you constantly. But if you watch the two, the other one looks much better because it is so much better.
As Rachel has said she's timed it, I've timed it as well, and so has Stephen Braddock here. Omega, Conrad, and the Rani were polished off. I looked at the clock, and there was still 30 minutes to go, and it's 40 minutes of domestic drivel. Technically, what I saw, Stephen Braddock, was this. We waited 22 minutes for any sci-fi action, and it was really people standing around and lots of hocus pocus magic tricks. And at 22 minutes, we had the Bone Beasts attack. And then we had some sci-fi. But the attack's over in 2 minutes. Then we had a transmat nonsense. And suddenly, to help this story through, we needed a magic transmat that got Ruby to talk to Conrad. Please, anyway, so we've got a bit of action with the bone scooter. And then basically, Poppy has disappeared. Oh, sorry. The whole story is sorted out after 38 minutes, 20 seconds. So basically, you have 16 minutes when you saw the Bone Beasts attack, Omega pop out of his plug hole and just say, the water needs changing. You shouldn't have privatized the water system. And he goes back down the list. And then it's all over after 38 minutes. And we've got 22 minutes still to go of... Do you know what? I might be regenerating. Do you know what? I'm sterile. Do you know what? It's my baby. If you'd be my baby, I'd have loved you. Oh, do you know what? And oh my God, it was EastEnders in space.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do the timings, it's such an indictment. Jodie appeared after 51 minutes. So basically, here's your timings. It's a 60-minute episode. We had Jodie, hiya, how you doing? Hiya. And then we had some regeneration energy. We did the same old boring thing not yet, go away. I need to go to a garden, do some weeding. Oh, I'm getting sus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Brendan, I actually called for my wife to say, it's happening now. She said, just call me when the regeneration happens. I said, it's happening now. It's happening now. Comes into the room. Next thing you know, like you said, he's in the garden. And within a minute, she's on her phone. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she says, you just tell me when it happens. that's true story. True story. She was just completely gone. She said, just tell me when it happens.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
Well, like I said, I started this show with my dad saying he was bored after 10 minutes. And my dad doesn't say that. And he likes the Jodie Whittaker Doctor. I mean, he was out. So basically, if I did the 5-minute breakdown of my dad on ratings, he wouldn't have got to the Jodie Whittaker bit. And he wouldn't have got to the regeneration. So basically, there's no payoff. He'd have missed the sci-fi attack sequence. And as Rachel said in the thread, and I'm well aware of it, the episode was called The Reality War. Where? How? What? Why was it called The Reality War?
Because people wanted to affect reality, right? And they were warring over who can affect reality. Gods? Conrad? The Doctor? The answer is the Doctor. Only the Doctor can affect reality because he's the last of the Time Lords and he has a TARDIS. That's what I learned.
Well, that's pretty much it. But at the same time, there's an artificiality even to the reality they created, because originally, apparently, Poppy was his and Belinda's child, although she doesn't have any memory of conceiving, bearing the child at all. But now there's a biological father, a boyfriend, who retroactively has been inserted into her memories as a partner during all of this, as reality has been changed. I'm sorry, I wasn't happy with that either.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like her boyfriend didn't have a say in the matter either.
Nope. Who cares?
And in a way, the whole thing, I mean, gosh, one of these TV listings, and actually RTD made a big thing of it, which is the Unholy Trinity. There wasn't an Unholy Trinity. You hardly saw the Unholy Trinity. Conrad soon became a non-event. The Rani became a non-event, and Mrs. Flood just did a runner. It was It was pathetic. Absolutely. And do you know what? If the Rani had this genius idea of getting Omega back, as soon as Omega stared her out, he ate her. She had no plan, no genius, no nothing. She was crap. And so I'm really shocked that nothing was given a payoff. The Rani was undersold. And actually, the Radio Times give a hint of it here. And this is what the Radio Times said. Last year's revelation of Sutekh being the big bad may have sent younger fans in search of the celebrated Pyramids of Mars. If they did, consider that a job well done. But this year's double surprise of the Rani and Omega masterminding a wicked plot is more fraught with risk, especially if kids now stumble across their past appearances in such misfires as Time and the Rani and Arc of Infinity, with neither serial spotlighting the classic series at its finest. All we can hope is that no one is dissuaded from returning for this finale, which sees the Doctor risking all he holds dear. I don't know if I recognise the all he holds dear. In the end, he risked himself for a non-event, but yeah, that was it. So yeah, everything didn't pay off. So that's why I had multiple questions, lads. Multiple questions. Number one, was it a satisfactory resolution? We said that at the beginning. What did we think? The regeneration, gosh, that's a regeneration story. And you know what? I've never really properly watched The Power of the Doctor again, but this is going to be a regeneration story I don't think I ever watch again. It had nothing to give me.
Nope. Agreed.
Yeah.
It was such a letdown. I'm sorry.
It was almost laughable.
So if we summed up the 15th Doctor, because that's it now, he's done. I'm amazed it's over. He didn't really. Honestly, I'm sorry. Shouting at the end of Dot and Bubble, torturing Kid for a minute, telling Conrad in the TARDIS, I'm gonna sort you out. I mean, really, he hasn't had much to say. And like I said, he was in 3 Doctor Light episodes. And I think, if I'm being fair on him, he's been underserved. But he also made his job a lot harder by opening his gob and saying, go and touch grass. And as usual, Jodie Whittaker did the same thing with the white male gaze. If Billie Piper is the Doctor, I hope she keeps her mouth shut. She kept her mouth shut when Chris Eccleston said, sack everybody.
Yeah.
Well, the irony is in all of this, and I shared this with Brian earlier, if Gatwa had been cast as a companion to a traditional Doctor, and that Doctor had to spend time kind of corralling his overexuberance and flamboyance, it would have been a wonderful foil and offset for a genuine Doctor, but as the Doctor himself, he couldn't sell the role. And he was poorly served by the writing, I have to admit, but I don't think that the actor himself has the natural gravitas to sell the character anyway. So it was a miscasting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, I've tried my best, but I just think he's been I used to think Jodie Whittaker was the most underserved Doctor, but now I do think Ncuti. I don't think it got started. I don't know what you think.
Oh, absolutely. No, the worst of the worst, and miscast, doesn't have the gravitas to pull this kind of a role off, and the writing was horrible. I mean, honestly, they should have kept all the money that they got for the special effects and just hired better writers. Just get better writers, a better showrunner.
Yeah.
We'll call it Get Better Slugs.
Obviously, Rachel, I know you were probably editing away. I know I said at the beginning of the show today, you say, for your worth, she won't be the Doctor. She was not credited as the Doctor. And that's what I was setting up at the beginning. I've already kind of discussed this. For example, every other time the Doctor was introduced in the credits, it said as Doctor Who or as the Doctor. And this time it said, and introducing Billie Piper. So yes, I know there's a difference. But is this a kind of a bait the audience? Can we afford to bait the audience anymore? Do we need a female? Do we need a female doctor? What I'm saying about the female Doctor, whether you're into the gender politics or whatever, or representation, but the issue is we've had 3 gay doctors in a row. and I'll say it again in case people are doubting it. I've seen some people in the thread with a question mark. They've just said that the Jodie Whittaker doctor loved Yaz. That was in the script. Gay doctor. Then we have the second one, which is the David Tennant 14th Doctor. Oh, is that what I am now? Fancying Isaac Newton, gay doctor. And we've had this with Rogue, gay doctor. So we've had 3 gay doctors in a row. And now we've got a female doctor, if that's the case. Now, even if Rachel and me and you believe it might be just a trick because of what we've seen in the credits, the general public will go, oh, that show, it's just cranky. It's just freaky. It's just not for me. If they'd parked it as a bloke, maybe there was a better chance as a bait, but that bloke wasn't the doc. You know, if they're going to do a silly trick, I don't think this is going to work. Sonny, your thoughts before you go?
It's crap. Gatwa can't act. No, I mean, Gatwa can't act. He shouldn't have been the doctor in the first place, and they used them as a propaganda machine. They put another black guy in a dress and told him to dance around and sing, and he did it, and now he's going to Hollywood. It would have been a better bait if they just fade to black and did nothing with the Billie Piper stuff, because now if you drew another line, you know, you got the people who are going to say, I'm not watching it because of another female doctor. The biggest bait was getting the regeneration in general to me, because I was under the impression that we weren't going to get it, right? I thought it was going to be Rose and the other Rose, the bad Rose. The fact that it's not kind of give me hope to watch another episode, but other than that, I'm kind of upset that I watched this season. I enjoyed it maybe 2% more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I know you've got to go, so thank you for your time, Sonny, and we'll see you Tuesday on Children of Time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I gotta talk with the review it. We gotta argue about this episode. I'm coming with
That's
the
it.
facts.
See you later then, Sonny.
I'll see you guys.
Bye, Sonny.
So we've got Paul. Nice of you to do this. It was total trash on steroids. Oh my God, bad. That's your opinion, and you've paid to say it. So thank you very much. I know somewhere Boomer Doug has given me a super chat for the Hoopettes. I can't see it at the moment, so I will say thank you. I won't go so far back. The Omega return, I think we've already said, absolute waste of time. And what a shame to such an iconic villain. Such a shame. No payoff. No payoff. The impact of the Rani, again, I think wasted.
Well, it's really pretty much everything we predicted, because so far, although there were some narrative beats that we misinterpreted, like the significance of Susan, perchance, we generally had a consensus that the resolution would be unsatisfying, that there would be plot holes, and that the classic characters would be poorly served, and that overall, the nature of the tone of the story was not going to work. And so far, every one of the prognostications has come to pass. But that's only because RTD has a track record of delivering content on this level.
Yeah. And as I come to you, Brian, thank you, Randy. In Canadian dollars. In positive news, my season 25 box set has arrived, and so you can distract yourself. Remember with season 25, Randy, that I had on my Children of Time on Tuesday, Ryan. And Ryan's part of the team that upgraded that with effects. And if you keep watching our Children of Time, every week Ryan is going to show some of the upgrades and some of the models. So, for example, you know, the space shuttle used by Davros, and the spaceship in Remembrance, the cyber ships in Silver Nemesis. So, Randy, yeah. Last week it was the Rutan, but yeah. So, thanks. So, Brian, your thoughts on the impact of the Rani? And you see, Brian, my problem now is with the Omega thing and the Rani thing. If you were a little Doctor Who fan aged, 8 upwards to about 16, After seeing what I saw today, I don't want the Rani back ever, and I don't want Omega back because they're rubbish.
Exactly. I mean, as speaking as an old fan, we like Christian had said, we all saw this coming. I had said it last week. There is absolutely no way there can be a payoff. Everyone said there better be a good payoff for this, and my stance was there can't be. There will not be a good payoff. It's not possible, and that's exactly what happened. They dug the Rani out. It was like, oh, we got the Rani back. Yeah, until she got eaten halfway through the episode. Omega, I was expecting at least to see somebody, anything, but instead it was just a big beast that came through a door, and then they used that stupid what's it called? Vindicator, the Vindicator.
Brian, the Vindicator looks like a guitar, so now he's making guitars look like weapons. So now that's unacceptable. You can't say that a guitar is a weapon. That's wrong.
I don't own a flying V, so I'm okay. I just got a strap, man.
And a few people in the thread have said what happened. Well, nothing. No Susan cameo. Nothing.
Yeah. Knew that was going to happen. Fairly certain, anyhow. But no, they were right. Since she was on that TARDIS set, they could have easily had that one scene instead of getting Jodie Whittaker in there, had him interact with Susan instead. Just some kind of interaction. They couldn't even do that. She was used.
Exactly.
Just for us, just to get us, oh, Susan's back, Susan's back, Susan's back. Everybody else, who's Susan? Oh, that's the doctor's granddaughter.
Let's just, Brian, let's just replay this for a second. She is the original companion. She is the eponymous hero in the first ever story. She is the unearthly child. She is Doctor Who royalty. And what did we do? We shoved a camera in her face and made her say words that are so meaningful, like "find me," and that's it. It is disgraceful. And and then he destroys the Rani. Then he destroys Sutek last year. Then he made the toy maker allowed to do all these foreign accents and stuff like that. I didn't think we were allowed to do all this. Every classic villain and monster he is butchering, and now he's got his claws on Susan, and I just think he's gone way too far, and it's disgusting that he's baited the audience again. And she is getting older. I mean, as somebody said, she's 84, and I'm sorry, but we could have made a little bit more of her.
There was a line at the end of the episode where the Rani said to the doctor, "I'm surprised you haven't found your TARDIS yet. You were wondering where it was or can't find it." And I'm starting to wonder now, was she supposed to be a metaphor for the TARDIS calling to him saying, "Find me"? But either way, it doesn't work. It doesn't work either way. So yeah, she was used. It was a disservice. Absolutely.
So my question here is, Christian, it's a quick one because we can do many shows on this in the future, but just as a kind of wrap up, I look, we've been getting ready for this stream. What does this say about the future of Doctor Who?
I'd say that right now the future of Doctor Who is nothing. Not to put too fine a point on it, the BBC has to find the money to finance the creation of a new season. I don't think that they're going to be able to pull that off in the near future. I think this particular finale is going to chase away a volume of the new as well as classic fans that are not going to allow themselves to be baited again if they come back in 18 months or 24 months or however long it takes them to bring it back to the screen. That means if the show comes back, it's going to be years down the road. And the narrative, linear storytelling, at least going back as far as 2017, is so corrupted that the only thing they can do to fix it is to reboot the entire thing. And I'm not sure if they did that they'd pull it off with integrity. Because at that point, there is no history. You're rebooting, and they can create whatever they want, which means they'll probably give us something that's a twisted variant of the show that we love. And so that version will probably fail as well. And then it's done. at that point. You're done.
They would have to have a rule book, a show Bible, as they call it, for just this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. Let's keep it Doctor Who. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. I know that they're going to do, like they said, the gap year, and then they try to sell it as well. The war between land and sea is the Sea Devils, so that's technically Doctor Who. So it's kind of not a gap year. Well, what assurance do we have that you're back the year after that?
Yeah, and it's kind of not Doctor Who, because we've all seen the pictures of a sea devil that doesn't look like a sea devil, blah, blah, blah. I'm just reminding people of this. Spot when New Who started, because I have to say the classic Doctors, 3 of them lasted an awful lot longer, and there seemed to be much more longevity. It was only when the BBC started faffing around. And if you look at the New Who Doctors, you know, we're working our way through the numbers, aren't we? And Ncuti Gatwa, if you're talking about the future of Doctor Who, it seems now that you get a doctor for a year. And I don't think that gives you longevity. I just don't. No. You need to find an actor who is not obsessed with Hollywood, who doesn't think he's the bee's knees, who is actually like Matt Smith. He took risks and he was fairly unknown and he went for it. And you know, I think we could have got even more out of him. So I'm disappointed with that. Yeah, is it the end of the line? Well, I think that will pan out in the future. So, lads, we have talked and talked and talked tonight, and it's been. I wish we hadn't had to talk like this, and I wish we hadn't had to talk about this content. But people do want to see our reaction, and they were waiting. Now you've got the beginning. As I said, I've got the scores on the doors for tomorrow night at 5:45. And you've also got me and Christian again at 1 p.m. on the ratings, whatever they're going to be. So thank you, both of you, and Sonny earlier. And Brian, if you want to give a shout out to your Zero Room channel.
YouTube.com/The Zero Room. I should have a new episode up very, very soon. An actual first episode, which I promised Christian earlier is going to be hilarious. But I actually, Brendan, I wanted to ask you, do you think it's dead? Do you think it's going to make it? Do you think it's going to make it survive?
I think the BBC are going to stubbornly make it survive. Unfortunately, you know, when you sometimes let things drag out too long, and in retrospect, you shouldn't have, because the memory doesn't fade. I think we're going through a process where if they just were very clinical and that they could actually just stop for a while, like we've said many times, have a damn good think and bring it back quite fresh with less damage. Remember when we were saying, oh, if RTD comes back and sorts out the Timeless Children and a bit of the Flux issue, we might be sorted. But it's Flux, what's that? Timeless Children, I'm over it. Now it's all these other things. So I think the BBC won't let go. They're being extremely silly and stubborn. So I think, Brian, it will continue. It's just that whether we will continue with it.
Which means it will fail.
Well, unless it finds this amazing new audience behind the back of the settee.
Yeah, well
I was just seeing texts from our colleague Doug saying he's gotten around, he's seen it, and he said he's done. He's done with New Who, and he said he's done with Classic Who by default. Wow.
No, not another one. No.
People are, and these are people who've watched Doctor Who all their life. He's watched it from Hartnell.
I was telling Christian earlier, it's like, you know, let RTD do what he wants to this stupid show now. Okay, I've given up and I'm done. But he will never take away the classic series from me. Never. I will just ignore that all this stuff doesnn't exist. I'll ignore it exists, and I will enjoy what they made in the past. I'm not going to chuck everything out the window just because this guy ruined it just a little bit at the end.
No, but Brian, where I'll correct you is not a little bit at the end. 20 years. I mean, he's stolen a third of the Doctor Who franchise, and also poisoned a lot of what happened in classic Regeneration a lot. He's changed so many things. We've seen the War Games remastered and with a Regeneration scene and the fairy dust. We've seen William Hartnell's First Doctor with the fairy dust. He is all over this like a rash.
Oh yeah.
And so when I see a Doctor Who fan, I understand that and I sympathize with them when they say, I've still got classic Who. No, you don't, because he's come looking for that. And actually, Doctor Who Monthly, they've revised a lot of the characters. Marco Polo, it was a quite homoerotic, blah, blah. They are changing everything. And if we walk... But
he can change what he wants. I'm not gonna buy it. I'm not buying it. I will enjoy it as I always have. Boy, the gloves are coming off now. I know. I think like RTD did a good job bringing it back in 2005. He did almost the impossible. That cheap, only really real nerds and geeks, that sci-fi show that they watch. They'll never be able to bring that back and make it mainstream. And he actually pulled it off, and he did it through Eccleston, Tennant, Matt Smith. Capaldi came in, and unfortunately, he was not that cute young boy that all the girls could like, so they all tuned out. And then the writing of the show started to dip, and then more people started to tune out. So as far as I'm concerned, when Peter Capaldi said at the end, "Doctor, I let you go," that's where I let the series go, and I'll enjoy everything from there before. Just going to ignore this. Just going to ignore it.
What I'm going to do at this moment is I'm going to remove my hat, nod my head, and think some gentle thoughts in memory of our beloved show.
Actually, yeah.
That's about all I can do.
So on that,
I think it's over.
On that sober note, join us again tomorrow, and I will do debates, and I will have a lot to say about this in smaller doses. But I think that's us for tonight. Everybody, somehow try and get some sleep, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, good night, lads.
All right. Thanks for having us, Brendan.
Bye.